Chapter 30, 392. In front of Zichen, there were 5 people coming out of a shop. After seeing the 5 people, Zichen's face revealed a surprised expression, because those 5 people were all wearing kasayas and holding prayer beads in their hands. They were all bald monks. What's wrong? Lei Lan noticed Zichen's abnormality. Zichen said, "There are still monks in this world." Lei Lan's expression changed. She remembered Zichen's description of her last time and snorted. Liz said, "Of course there are. The Buddhist domain has an extraordinary status in the Saint Spirit realm." "The Buddhist domain, is it a domain of its own?" Zichen asked. Liz nodded. Zichen said again, "In that case, those who live there are all bald thieves." Liz did not answer immediately, showing that she was a little embarrassed. "Amitabha, what do you mean, benefactor?" At this time, a voice came from the front. It was an old monk who walked in front of Zichen. The old monk's face was peaceful, without joy or sorrow. Behind him, the other 4 monks, although they also bowed to Zichen with their palms together, there was dissatisfaction in their eyes. Being called bald thieves out of the blue, no one seemed to be happy. The fact that they did not get angry on the spot proved that these monks had self-restraint. Zichen quickly followed the monk's bow and said, "Master, please don't blame me. I said something wrong, but after seeing you, I was too excited and blurted it out." The old monk chanted the name of Buddha again. The dissatisfaction on the faces of the other 4 deepened. They thought that the apology was fine before. But why did it change in the end? "What do you mean by blurting it out? Do you often describe monks like that?" Zichen also noticed his slip of the tongue and explained again, "To be honest, I have a friend from the lower realms who is a Buddhist. I didn't expect to see a Buddhist here, so I'm happy for that friend. It proves that there is an organization here." The old monk was surprised and said, "Benefactor's friend is from the 10,000 spirit realm?" "Yes," Zichen said. "It's just that he's still cultivating alone. I didn't know that there was an organization in the Saint Spirit realm." "Amitabha, it's the Buddhist sect," the old monk said. Clearly, the word organization didn't sound good. Zichen said, "Master, may I ask if you can take my friend with you? He is very intelligent. Ever since Monk came here, although he had been growing, his speed had obviously slowed down. Now that he had met someone from the Buddhist region, once the monk returned to that place, he believed that he would definitely improve at a rapid pace. The Buddha is a fated person. I can meet him," the old monk said. "My name is Zichen. How should I address you, Grandmaster?" "Poor monk Xingjiao." Zichen said, "Grandmaster Shengju, can you wait for a while? My friend is in my world. Can he wait for me to land in this world? Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to come back after we return." Shengju nodded. While waiting, Zichen asked a few questions about the Buddhist domain. Zichen's attitude was getting better and better. This made those who had opinions about Zichen change their attitude toward him. Lei Lan was speechless. She knew how Zichen described his friend. "May I know why Grandmaster is here this time?" Zichen had just asked, and before Shengju could answer, Yaheng came back with a holy thunder token. "My lord, the matter has been settled. Although there was some unpleasantness, it's all settled." Yaheng took the token and walked forward, handing it back to Zichen with both hands. After seeing the token, Shengju's expression changed. Why is it you, old monk? Why are you still here? Are you pestering my lord?" Seeing Shengju beside him, Yaheng's face immediately showed dissatisfaction. "You know Grandmaster Shengju?" Zichen asked. Yaheng said, "My lord, this old monk came to the sacred thunder region to buy materials. Not to mention that we don't have such materials. Even if we did, it would not be his turn." "What materials do we not have in the sacred thunder region?" Lei Lan asked curiously. Even Liz was very surprised. Although this was the outer region of the sacred thunder region, it was also the most bustling place in the region. There should be all kinds of materials here. Yahung said, "It's the bone of the sacred thunder beast." So it's that. Both Leilon and Liz had a look of realization on their faces. Zichen asked in surprise, "What's that?" He was still puzzled. It's a kind of exotic beast on the sacred spirit battlefield. It's unique to the Thunder Clan. It's equivalent to the native exotic beasts on the battlefield of gods and demons. Liz explained, only core disciples can get it. Every time they get it, they have to give a portion to the Thunder Clan, and the rest can be used to trade. However, every time it appears, it will be fought over. There's a price, but no supply. Zichen understood. Yahung said, "The bone of the sacred thunder beast is rare, and the price is very high. However, it can't be said that it doesn't exist. It's just that this old monk's price is too low. Naturally, no one wants to trade with him. But he's really good. He's not leaving and is shamelessly searching house by house." Zichen looked back at Shangju and asked, "Grandmaster, what do you need the bone for?" Grandmaster Shangju said, "To be honest, it's for refining weapons. If you add some of the bone of the sacred thunder beast to Buddhist weapons, it will be very effective against demons. Unfortunately, the price outside is too high. So I wanted to come here to take a look." Zichen said, "It's for killing demons." Liz said, "The region where the Buddhist region is located is not very stable. Demons often appear there. It's hard to say which force has killed the most demons in the sacred spirit realm, but the Buddhist region's ranking is definitely at the top." Zichen admired the person who really killed demons. He looked at Yahung and said, "Since it's for killing demons, can't the Thunder region make an exception?" Yahung smiled bitterly. Leilon said, "This kind of thing is almost the best choice for refining weapons. The price is extremely high, but there's not much of it. Once the news spreads, it will be immediately booked in advance." Zichen looked back at Grandmaster Xingju and said apologetically, "I've just come to the Sacred Thunder region and haven't entered the Sacred Spirit battlefield. If I have it, I don't mind sharing it with Grandmaster. Can you use the primal beasts from the battlefield of gods and demons instead?" Grandmaster Shangju asked in surprise, "Does Benefactor have primal beast materials?" Zichen nodded and said, "I've been to the battlefield of gods and demons once. There are some things I haven't dealt with, and I don't know how to use them. Grandmaster, come with me to take a look?" Grandmaster Shangju nodded, his expression calm. Behind him, there was obvious joy in the eyes of the other four people. Leilon was very surprised. She didn't expect Zichen to have such materials. Meanwhile, Reese's expression changed. "Sir, come with me. The place has been chosen." Chapter 3393. After arriving at an empty area, Yahung said, "This place is close to the Ganhai sacred region, so it's easy to gain popularity. Previously, the people from Ganhai sacred region weren't willing, but after I took out the token, they gave up." When Zichen heard this, he frowned slightly. "Are you making things difficult for him?" Yahung said, "How so?" "Sir, you don't have to mind. This is our Thunder Clan's territory, not someone's private territory. It's just that they're too selfish and want to treat this place as their private land." Changing the topic, Yahung said, "Moreover, they can't wait for a core disciple to land here." Zichen nodded slightly, as long as they didn't steal other people's things. Standing in this area, Zichen began to move the world. The world traveled through the void. Because it had accurate coordinates, its speed was very fast. A moment later, space distorted, and a bolt of lightning appeared above. The lightning flashed, and the world seemed to fall. A shadow fell, and the world began to grow, falling on this strange place. The world stopped in the void and began to operate on its own. The people brought by Shangju all looked ahead curiously. This was the world of the core disciples of the sacred Thunder sacred region, and it was almost impossible to see. Zichen said, "Let's go." The group flew toward Zi Chen's world and then entered it. The moment they entered the world, they were attracted by the pure green color. With their spiritual sense, they could naturally see the city of trees in the green world, as well as the humans living in the city. They were amazed. Xingju said, "I didn't expect Benefactor's world to be so lively." "Master, follow me." Zi Chen's figure descended, heading toward the center of the city of trees. "Evil good monk, come out quickly." While descending, Zi Chen also transmitted his voice. "You're finally willing to come back." The next moment, the monk's laughter rang out. "Come and see your Lord Buddha. I've broken through to the spirit ascension realm." Zi Chen's figure descended, and evil good monk appeared at the same time. The moment he looked up, he saw the monks beside Zi Chen and blurted out, "Bald donkey!" There are bald donkeys in this world? Liz and Leilon couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that this was Zi Chen's friend, but it was a little too weird. Monk Xingju was also slightly taken aback. Fortunately, he was knowledgeable and immediately chanted the name of Buddha. Zi Chen glared at the monk. The monk came to his senses and shook his robe. A golden Buddhist light enveloped his body and his temperament changed drastically. "Amitabha, this poor monk, Shanxia, greets you all." At this moment, the monk was like the reincarnation of a Buddha. The people who came with Monk Xingju all stared at him in disbelief. This change made him seem like a completely different person. The former was like a scoundrel, while the latter was like an enlightened monk. Liz and Leilon were also shocked by the changes in the monk's appearance. If it wasn't for the fact that the other party's aura was very weak, they would definitely have mistaken him for a core disciple of a Buddhist sect. "Shanxia, this is Master Shengju, and these are his disciples. Come over quickly," Zi Chen said to the monk. However, the way he addressed Shan Xia sounded awkward. The monk flew forward and bowed again. "Shan Xia greets the holy teacher." Zi Chen said again, "Master, this is the friend I was talking about. What do you think?" A golden light flashed in Shengju's eyes. He sized up the monk and said, "Shanzai, Shanzai, Buddha helps those who are fated. Shanxia, are you willing to follow me into the Buddhist sect?" Behind Xingju, the expressions of the other monks changed. He directly invited him just like that? Wasn't it too fast? One must know that once Xingju invited someone into the Buddhist sect, they would become an official disciple. This disciple is willing. The monk put his palms together. "Good, good." Xingju nodded and smiled with satisfaction. This poor monk came to the east this time. There is no need for this trip. No need for this trip. Zi Chen was also very satisfied. Obviously, this Shengju was really capable to be able to see the monk's extraordinariness. The monk was known as Shanxia and had an extraordinary background. He was definitely the most mysterious of the friends that followed him. Zi Chen said, "Master, let's go to the tree hall for a chat." When the group went to the tree hall, Su Mengyao was already there to receive them. When they saw Su Mengyao, Leilon and Liz's eyes lit up. Su Mengyao wore a white dress and stood on top of the tree hall. A light breeze blew past, and her dress fluttered slightly, as if she was going to ride the wind. Xingju also saw Su Mengyao, and his expression changed. The feeling that Su Mengyao gave people, other than her beauty, there was also a mysterious aura. This kind of mystery shouldn't have appeared in front of them, because Su Mengyao was only at the initial stage of the spirit ascension realm. In front of these holy spirits, how could she be mysterious? Zi Chen introduced her to Shengju. "Master, this is my fiancé." Master Shengju put his palms together. Amitabha. Shengju greets the benefactor. "Greetings, Master. Everyone is a guest. Please come in." Su Mengyao returned the greeting with a faint smile on her beautiful face. She wasn't nervous at all. At this time, Demon Ape and the others also arrived and stood under the tree hall. Obviously, they hadn't seen Zi Chen in a long time. Shengju turned back to look at them. Buddhist light flowing around his body. Benefactor Zichen really has hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Xingju's eyes have been opened today. Lei Lan and Liz looked at Lin Shui and the others. They had looks comparable to Su Mengyao, and each had a unique aura. Although their cultivation levels were low, it was obvious that they had extraordinary potential. The two didn't expect that Zichen's world was a complete world with so many humans living in it. Yaheng was even more surprised. He had never seen such a situation before. The group entered the tree hall. Only Xingju, Leilan, and Liz sat down while the others stood. Xingju pulled the monk and was very satisfied. After Su Mengyao served everyone tea and snacks, Zichen said, "Mengyao, Master came this time because he wants to see our primordial beast materials. Bring some over." "Okay." Su Mengyao nodded and left the tree hall. "I can't see through her." After Su Mengyao left, Liz transmitted to Leilan. She seems to be covered by a layer of fog. Leilan remained silent. She could not understand why Zichen, this rascal, would have such a beauty by his side. After a while, Su Mengyao returned with a portion of the primordial beast materials. "The materials are all here. Master, please take a look." Light flashed in front of Su Mengyao and various materials appeared. She explained, "These are primordial beast materials, these are primordial divine beasts, and these are primordial spirit beasts. These are primordial beast materials with dual attributes. They belong to different factions." Chapter 30, 394. The battlefield of gods and demons was one of the special lands of opportunity in the Saint Spirit realm. For spirit ascenders, there were great opportunities inside, but that place only opened once in a while. Although the great powers had the same Holy Spirit battlefield as the battlefield of gods and demons, the two were actually different. True primordial beasts could only be found on the battlefield of gods and demons, and there weren't many of them. In addition, the battlefield of gods and demons had been open for many years, so primordial beast materials were definitely one of the most expensive materials for spirit ascension weapons. Such materials were hard to come by. But today, Su Mengyao had brought out a complete series. There were 3 types of primal beasts: God, Devil, and Spirit. There were also 3 types of dual attribute materials: God, Devil, Spirit, and Spirit. Leilan's eyes widened in curiosity. After all, she had no family backing her and didn't know much about business. But Liz was different from Yaheng. Liz was very surprised, and Yaheng covered his mouth. He was afraid that he would lose his composure at this time and disturb the Holy Spirits here. Zichen's materials, which weren't easy to deal with, were absolute treasures to Yaheng, and the more, the better. He would take as much as he could get. The disciples behind Xingju were also very curious. They had only heard about the resources on the battlefield of gods and demons, but had never seen such a complete set. Xingju was different. He looked away from the resources and asked Zichen, "Benefactor, did you bring out all these resources?" Zichen nodded and said, "I was lucky last time and brought some out, but the origin crystals have already been refined, so only these materials are left. Oh, there's also a lot of primordial beast meat that hasn't been eaten yet, and there's a lot of blood that can't be processed." Hearing Zichen's words, Yaheng even had the heart to kill himself. His full name was Yaheng, and he was the manager of the Jella family in this outer realm. This time, Liz had personally brought Zichen here to inform Yaheng in advance. Obviously, she also wanted to build a good relationship with Zichen, not to mention other things. Just the special care that Holy Venerable Lady had shown Zichen was enough for them to rope him in. Yaheng's original plan was to place Zichen's world near the Jella family's world. That way, it would be more convenient to be neighbors with this core disciple. Naturally, their relationship would also be better. But at the last moment, after Yaheng said those words, Liz changed her mind, so Yaheng purposely chose this place. "My lord," Yaheng said, but after Liz glanced at him, he didn't say anything else. Zichen looked at Yaheng. Yahung said respectfully, "Sir, please discuss the cooperation with Grandmaster first. This humble one has a presumptuous request, but it's not urgent." He didn't know if it was an illusion, but Zichen felt that Yahang's attitude towards him seemed to be more respectful. Zichen said with a smile, "What kind of cooperation do I have with you? Just take whatever you like, Master. This is equivalent to a meeting gift from good and evil to Master." Amitba, good indeed. When Grandmaster Shengju heard this, he immediately stood up and put his palms together. "How can I accept your generosity?" Good and Evil said, "You don't have to be so polite, sacred teacher. Zichen is rich and has a lot of these things." Zichen also said that this is a meeting gift from this humble monk to sacred teacher. Naturally, I can't be stingy. Zichen smiled but didn't say anything. This guy really had a good appetite. He even wanted to take a piece of meat with him. However, Zichen didn't expose him. Instead, he nodded and said, "Good and evil is right. I can't be stingy with a meeting gift. In the future, I'll have to trouble Grandmaster to take care of me in the Buddhist domain. What kind of material does Grandmaster fancy?" Shengju said, "Since Benefactor is sincere, this humble monk will speak. Among the many resources, the most useful to us are primordial beasts with spirit and demon attributes." Zichen nodded and said, "In that case, I'll give Grandmaster 5 complete sets of materials." 5 complete sets of materials were equivalent to 5 spirit and demon dual attribute primordial beasts. Shengju was slightly startled, as if he was very surprised. Zichen said, "I know Grandmaster doesn't like killing. We'll break down the 5 sets of materials. There won't be any flesh and blood in them." Shengju still didn't say anything. Good and Evil winked at Zichen. Zichen said, "Is it not enough? Fine, I'll give Grandmaster 10 sets of materials. If 10 sets aren't enough, then we—" "Oh, no, this humble monk didn't mean that." Shengju immediately interrupted Zichen and said, Amitba, Benefactor is too considerate. Actually, 5 sets are enough." Zichen smiled and said, "Since Grandmaster is satisfied, then we'll go with the 10 sets we agreed on. Grandmaster, please wait a moment. The 10 sets will be brought up soon." Amitba. Shengju put his palms together and bowed to Zichen. "Benefactor, can you bring some more beast blood? When refining weapons, it can also increase the grade. Of course, it's equivalent to 10 spirit and demon primordial beasts," Zichen said. Shengju said, "Meat is useless to us." Zichen added, "Grandmaster, you can also bring it back and exchange it with other factions for other things." "Thank you." Hearing the two's conversation, Yahung became anxious. Even the look in Liz's eyes changed. This Zichen was really too generous. He had only met once, but he had already given her 10 dual attribute spirit and demon primordial beasts. Even if he sold them for materials, they would be sold for a sky-high price. Why was he giving them away for free? Liz was also shocked, but she quickly regained her senses. When she looked at Zichen again, her expression was clearly different. Su Mengyao stood to the side, the smile on her face never changing. When Zichen was establishing his faction, she was in charge. She naturally understood what Zichen meant. After giving Shengju so many benefits today, he would definitely take good care of the monk when he returned. In the future, the monk would definitely get more benefits from the Buddhist domain. The demon ape brought the materials and placed them in a spirit ring. Zichen took the spirit ring and handed it to Shengju with both hands. "Grandmaster, please take a look." Shengju thanked him again. After taking the spirit ring, he thanked him again. How could he count something that was given to him for free? "As for the holy lightning demon bone, Grandmaster, after I get it, I will inform you." "You can send someone to get it," Zichen said. "Absolutely not, Benefactor. Absolutely not." Grandmaster Shengju hurriedly refused. He was already a 5-star sacred spirit, so he was naturally not a fool. He understood the meaning of Zichen giving him resources. In addition, he saw that Zichen had a sacred venerate token. Coupled with Yahang's attitude toward Zichen, it was obvious that Zichen was not an ordinary person. This kind of person could only be befriended. How could he keep exploiting them? Moreover, in the sacred thunder domain, a 5-star sacred spirit like him was nothing. Otherwise, Yahang, a mere spirit ascension realm cultivator, would not call him an old monk without any respect. Chapter 30, 395. Zichen had just returned and was about to leave without even drinking. Monk was a little reluctant and said that he would leave in a few days. Zichen said, "Hurry up and leave. You're too weak." After discovering Xingju, Zichen thought of a problem, a very serious problem. He was very happy to see Monk off. Monk had potential. Since he had an organization, he naturally couldn't delay. On the same day, Monk left with Xingju. "Take care. If there's anything, send someone to inform me." Everyone appeared and bade farewell to Monk. Xingju stood in the sky and looked at the people below. His body was emitting a golden light, and so was his eyes. He had a special ability that allowed him to see the potential of others. It was better than some testing methods. At this moment, in his eyes, the bodies of the people below were shining brightly and dazzlingly. This represented one's potential. None of the people below were mortals. They were all top geniuses. As for Monk, his potential was similarly dazzling. Xingju left the world with Tyrant. Everyone was a little disappointed, but they were happy for Monk from the bottom of their hearts. Zichen looked at Yahang and asked, "What did you want to say?" Yahang said, "Can I ask?" Before Yahang could finish, Liz interrupted him. She said, "Do you still have a lot of resources from the primordial beasts?" Zichen said, "There's still a lot." Liz said, "Why don't we work together? Let us handle these resources and we'll both benefit?" Zichen asked, "How do we work together?" "The resources from the primordial beasts can be used to refine weapons. Every weapon will be placed in a certain proportion. When the time comes, we'll split the profits according to the proportion." Liz said, this matter was obviously not simple and involved many follow-up issues. Yahang said, "I have a suggestion, but I don't know if I should say it." "Say it," Zichen said. Yahang looked outside the city. "I noticed that there are trees here and there are fruits on the trees. That's why I feel that we should set up a workshop in this world specifically for brewing wine. We can use this special fruit, as well as some of the blood of the protozoa that Milord obtained. When the time comes, we can sell it in this world and increase the popularity of this world. We can also set up weapon workshops here and sell weapons in this world." Obviously, Yahang's thinking was a step further than Liz's. While working together, he also brought popularity to this world. Zichen nodded and said, "This is a good suggestion." Yahang said, "Of course, the most important thing is to see how many similar resources you can provide. If there aren't enough resources, the accumulated popularity will quickly dissipate." Zichen said, "Resources are not a problem for the time being. I will take you to have a look later. As for how to cooperate, you can send someone to discuss with Meng Yao." Now that this matter had been preliminarily settled, there were still many things to be discussed. It was not something that could be completed in a day or two. Most importantly, the teleportation array had not been built yet. However, with Zichen's special identity, no one made things difficult for him. Soon, someone came to investigate and find a suitable place. When they returned, only Leilon and Zichen went back. Liz said that she wanted to go back to her family. Obviously, this matter was not small and would require a lot of resources. She needed the approval of her family. "I didn't expect a scoundrel like you to have so many good things," Leilon said. Zichen smiled. "But I have to remind you that although your luck is good, it is all based on one thing. That is, you are still a core disciple of the sacred Thunder region." Leilon said solemnly, Without this identity, everything you have obtained today will disappear even faster. I know that. As someone who had been through this before, Zichen knew this better than anyone else. He already had a plan in his mind. Zichen said, "Take me to the sacred thunder region." What? Lei Lan was surprised. "I want to see the sacred thunder region. You know where he is, right?" Zichen looked at Lei Lan. Lei Lan said, "I know, but the sacred thunder region has a weird temper. He might not see you. Take me there. If the sacred thunder region doesn't want to see me, then forget it," Zichen said. "All right then, come with me." The two returned to the core city. Zichen was surprised and asked, "The sacred thunder region is in this city?" "In this world, but not in this city." Then Lei Lan took Zichen to another place. There were many teleportation arrays there. One of them was the place where the sacred thunder region lived. Lei Lan was a disciple of the sacred thunder region. Those who guarded the teleportation array naturally did not dare to stop her. The two appeared from the teleportation array and saw a small courtyard. The gate of the courtyard was closed and there was no one guarding it. Zichen was surprised and asked, "This is the place where the sacred thunder region lives? Why is there not even a guard?" "The sacred thunder region needs guards?" Lei Lan walked forward and said, "There is a rule in the sacred thunder region. If the door cannot be opened, then he will not see anyone. If the door can be opened, then he wants to see you." She walked to the door and said, "Come and open it. I have been here several times, but it has only been open once." Zichen walked forward. Before he could push the door open, the door automatically opened from the inside with a creak. Lei Lan looked forward and saw an old man standing at the door. "Butler, are you going out?" Lei Lan asked. The butler smiled and said, "The sacred thunder region knows that Zichen is here, so he asked me to open the door and welcome you." Lei Lan was unhappy when she heard that. "What? Welcome him personally? Since when did the sacred thunder region become so hospitable?" The butler smiled and ignored Lei Lan's disrespect to the sacred thunder region. He stepped aside and asked Zichen to come in. "Thank you." Zichen cupped his fists and thanked him. Then he stepped through the door. Lei Lan followed behind him angrily. She looked at Zichen and could not understand why the sacred thunder region cared so much about him. This guy did not have 3 heads and 6 arms. Under the butler's lead, Zichen walked through the courtyard and saw the sacred thunder region. "What's the matter?" The sacred thunder region stood up and looked at Zichen. Zichen hesitated. The sacred thunder region smiled and said, "Say it. There are no outsiders here." Only then did Lei Lan, who was fuming with anger, look slightly better. "I want to ask if the sacred thunder region has any enemies," Zichen asked. The sacred thunder region said, "What's the matter? Just say it." Zichen said, "I have some friends. I would like to ask the sacred thunder region to send them out." Chapter 30, 396. Lei Lan did not expect that Zichen came to Lei Di to ask him to be a coolie. In her opinion, asking Lei Di to send someone away was a laborious task in itself, and with her understanding of Lei Di, he would not refuse. What kind of joke was this? Lei Di was famous for his inattentiveness and laziness. He did not care about the Thunder Clan and never developed his force. How could such a person run errands for others? What's more, he was the Saint Venerable Lei Di. Even if she did not regard him as a Saint Venerable, he was still a Saint Venerable. Lei Di was a little surprised. "Tell me." Zichen said, "I have 2 friends who have the power of the moon. I would like to trouble you to send them to the Moon Clan." Lei Di said, "Just these 2? Didn't you say you have a lot of friends?" Zichen said, "One is good at the power of glory, the other is good at the power of stars. One is very talented in the way of the sword. One has the bloodline of the demon race, and some are strange beasts." Zichen said a lot of different power systems in one breath. Lei Lan was almost petrified. This guy really did not regard himself as an outsider. Not only did he ask Lady to run errands, but he also treated him as a servant. This was not to send them to one place, but to many places. Even with Lady's means, it would take some time to complete. After almost finishing talking about the characteristics of those friends, Zichen said, "That's why I asked you, Saint Venerable, if we have any enemies." Lady said with a smile, "At our level, there are no enemies. Even if the relationship between the two sides is not harmonious, it is not a problem to send a few people." Lei Lan looked at Lady as if she had seen a ghost. What? Was this guy really going to agree? "Well, let me think. The people you said who use swords can be sent to the Holy Sword Realm. As for the strange beasts, they can be sent to the Holy Spirit Realm of Beasts. Those with the bloodline of the demon race should be people who have refined the bloodline of the demon race. Then send them to the Blood Devil Hell. Those who have refined the bloodline of the God race should be sent to the Blood Devil Realm." Zichen's face lit up as he said, "So, the Holy Senior has agreed." Lady said, "Sending people there is no problem, but with my influence, I'm afraid I can't let them become core disciples like you and get many resources." Zichen shook his head. "There's no need for that. We just need to give them a fair environment. Furthermore, all of them are only in the Spirit Ascension tier, and some of them are not even in the Spirit Ascension tier yet. If it's just a request, it's fine." Lady nodded. Lei Lan looked at Lady in disbelief. She had never seen such an easygoing person. He was even a little too diligent. She even agreed to Zichen's extremely rude and presumptuous request, which had no regard for seniority. At this moment, she couldn't help but wonder if Zichen was Lady's illegitimate son. Otherwise, why would he be so good to him? After a moment of hesitation, Zichen said, "One more thing. I have a friend who is good at divination. Do you know where to send her?" Lady said, "Is she also your fiancée?" Zichen nodded. When he introduced Wang Xian, and the others, Zichen had said that. Lady laughed. "I didn't expect you to be so likable. Not only do you have friends, but you also have many female confidants. Not bad, not bad." Zichen scratched his head and laughed foolishly. "Silly." Lei Lan curled her lips. She had seen those people. They were definitely first-class beauties with unique temperaments. She couldn't figure out why they would like Zichen. Lady said, "Since that's the case, let me think. If you're good at divination, there is indeed a special place that is suitable for you. But that place is very strict. Even if I send someone there with my status, I may not be able to get those people to accept her." Suddenly, Lady's expression changed slightly. He said, "You're here. Follow me." As soon as he finished speaking, the three of them disappeared from the room. The next moment, Lady was standing in the void. Zichen and Lei Lan were standing beside him. A woman was standing in front of them. Her face was covered by a veil, and her body was emitting a hazy light. She was very mysterious. "Lady, why did you stop me?" The woman looked at Lady and called his name. Lei Lan was a little surprised. Zichen's expression also changed. This woman was also a holy venerable. "I have something to ask of you." "I didn't expect you to come," Lady said. The woman's eyes flickered. She said in surprise, "Are you sure? Do you have something to ask of me?" Lady nodded. "Have you changed?" The woman asked again. Lady's expression was a little gloomy. The Holy Master said, "Well, beg me, beg me. Be sincere, and I will promise you." Zichen was a little embarrassed. Is she really a holy venerable? Why does she sound like a child? Suddenly, his expression changed again. He looked at Lady differently. Could it be that there was a story between the two of them? Lady snorted and said, "Forget it if you don't agree." Zichen was dumbfounded. What was this? Lei Lan pointed at her head and then pouted at Lady. She meant that there was something wrong with this guy's head. "Lady, you've gone too far. How do you know that I won't agree before you say what you want? The woman was angry. Zichen was very tactful and did not speak at this time. He even retreated and turned his head to look in another direction. As an experienced person, he naturally felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. Lady hesitated for a while and then said gently, "There's someone I hope you can accept as your disciple." "Who is it? Why are you acting like this?" The woman stared at Lady. Her eyes seemed to be looking through him. Lady said, "My friend's fiancé." "What?" The woman's eyes flickered. She said coldly, "When did you have a fiancé? You're here to piss me off, aren't you?" Lei Lan, who was also retreating, stopped. She was almost petrified. She was not a brainless person. She heard Lady clearly. His friend's fiancé? Wasn't it Su Mengyao? Who was his friend? Zichen. How could it be? He was just a one-star Holy Spirit. How could he be a friend of a holy saint? "She's my friend's fiancé." Lady said unhappily, "You're a holy saint. How could you be deaf?" "Your friend's fiancé? What's her cultivation level?" The woman's voice softened. Lady looked at Zichen. Zichen said, "She's just reached the spirit ascension realm." The woman said, "Hey, Lady, is he the friend you mentioned?" Lady said, "Can't I? We feel like old friends at first sight." The Holy Master nodded and said, "That suits your weird personality. However, this is not a child's play." Lady said, "Let's wait and see. By the way, why did you come to the Thunderfield?" The woman said, "I felt something recently, so I came here for a walk. Maybe I'll find something. Follow me to a place first, and then we'll go and see the person you mentioned." Then, light appeared on the woman's body. They disappeared into thin air. The next moment, the four of them appeared in another world. Chapter 30, 397. Zichen was too familiar with the world in front of him. It was his world. Why did the Holy Saint woman come to his world? "Holy Saint, is this the place you want to go?" Zichen asked curiously. "Can't I?" The Holy Saint woman looked at Zichen. Zichen said, "Of course you can. But why did you come to my world, Holy Saint?" "What? This is your world." The Holy Saint woman was surprised. Then she sensed the same aura between the two. "Ha!" Lady suddenly laughed out loud. "Lady, what are you laughing at?" The Holy Saint woman glared at Lady. Lady said, "Shang-Ti, you're not here for a walk. You're here for a disciple, right?" Shang-Ti's expression became unnatural after Lady pointed out her purpose. Lady said, "That's good. I don't need to owe you a favor." "What do you mean?" Shang-Ti looked at Lady, but she soon understood the reason. She then looked at Zichen. "Is that your fiancé?" Zichen said, "I don't know who you're talking about, but my fiancé's aura is similar to yours. Let's go." Shang-Ti flashed and disappeared again. The next moment, the four appeared in front of Su Mengyao. "Zichen, why are you back?" Su Mengyao was surprised to see Zichen. Then she noticed Shang-Ti. Her body glowed as if she was facing a great enemy. "Not bad, not bad." During this time that feeling came and went, so I couldn't figure out the direction. Now it seems that it's you. Shang-Ti looked at Su Mengyao and nodded with satisfaction. Su Mengyao's expression changed. Ever since she broke through, she felt uneasy as if someone was watching her. Not far away, the demon ape and the others also sensed the abnormality and flew over. Lady's gaze swept over them, and he was a little surprised. Although he did not have the divine sense, he was a Saint Venerate, so his eyesight was naturally extraordinary. He could see the potential of these people with a single glance. Why is it like this? Su Mengyao looked at Zichen and said worriedly, "If I leave, what will happen to this place? Who will manage this world for you?" When Shang-Ti explained the reason for his visit and thought that the other party would happily agree, he hit a soft nail on the head. Su Mengyao refused. Qin pulled Su Mengyao aside and was trying to counsel her. Controlling the world is just a small matter. I hope you can become stronger as soon as possible, Qin said. Su Mengyao said, you can become stronger anywhere. You don't have to leave. Qin shook his head and said, it's not the same. Those people in the Sky Evolution Peak are all experts in this field. They are professionals. Once you get there, you will be able to obtain even more powerful cultivation techniques, as well as all sorts of corresponding resources. Su Mengyao said, what about this place? Once we leave, who will manage your world? Qin said, now I am a core disciple, and I have the help of the Thunder Clan. Many people in the Thunder Clan want to befriend me, so I left this place to them to manage. Su Mengyao shook her head and said, no, you can't trust those people. Qin said, there is no such thing as trust or not trust. As long as I can continue to grow and become stronger, the people around me will always be trustworthy. Now, as long as I give them some benefits, the cooperation between us will be very pleasant. While Qin and Su Mengyao were talking, Shang-Ti, who was with Lady, said, Lady, I really didn't expect that a one-star saint spirit like you would be so knowledgeable despite your mediocre power. Lady said, he's Qin, not a kid. Plus, eavesdropping on others is not a good habit. Shang-Ti snorted, what do you know? I must have Mengyao. There can't be any mistakes. What if this kid says something wrong? Let me tell you, this time, no matter what, I will take Mengyao away. I have already decided that she will be the only successor of my Sky Evolution Peak. Lady looked at Shang-Ti in shock. Because he knew Shang-Ti very well. He knew how arrogant Shang-Ti was and how he had never accepted a disciple. But now, not only did he accept a disciple, he even said that he was the only one. Looking at the shocked Lady, Shang-Ti said again, don't tell me you haven't seen what kind of people are here. Speaking of which, why are there so many special existences in your world? Lady's eyes swept across this world. What entered his eyes was a sea of green. With his eyesight, of course, he could see that these green plants all had spirits. He thought of Lei Tianshi, who was killed by him. Could it be that he did all this? Could it be that these people were all chosen by him for Qin? For the first time, doubts appeared in his heart. Unfortunately, he had already killed him and there was no way to verify it. Looking at the stunned Lady, Shang-Ti suddenly transmitted his voice. You are always arrogant and have very few friends. In the Thunder Clan, you have no friends at all. How did you become friends with a one-star saint spirit today? Lady was silent and didn't reply. Shang-Ti continued, I heard you say that you didn't like anyone in the Thunder Clan, but you admired one person. Unfortunately, that person has already died. Could it be that that person has returned? Lady's expression changed. It's true. Shang-Ti said in shock, didn't you say that he was betrayed and plotted against, and his soul was destroyed? Don't mention this again. Lady transmitted his voice. Although countless years had passed, Shang-Ti still remembered the decadent man who had traveled the Saint Spirit realm and saved her life. One time after drinking, when he talked about that person, his decadence in the past was swept away and he was in high spirits. At that time, the man's entire body was glowing as if the sun could illuminate the world. It was also at that time that Shang-Ti, who was only at the Spirit Ascension realm, had light in her eyes. It was as if her world was lit up at that moment. Qin and Su Mengyao walked back. Su Mengyao's eyes were filled with tears and reluctance. Wang Xian, and the others came forward and hugged them. Let's go. We will wait for you to become stronger. Take care. I will miss all of you. Us too. Shang-Ti left with Su Mengyao. In a day, 2 friends had left. Lady looked at Qin. Qin said, My lord, please take them away. Lady nodded and turned to look at these people. Qin clasped his fists at them and said, Everyone, we will meet again if fate allows it. On this day, Qin's friends were all taken away by Lady, Not a single one was left. Chapter 30, 398. Zichen and Lei Lan returned to the core city, then returned to the Thunder Room. Zichen was not in a good mood. After all, his friends had all left, and he did not know how long it would be before he could see them again. Lei Lan looked at Zichen, and she somewhat understood why those people were willing to follow him. This was a crucial time for the development of Zichen's world, and it was also the time when people were needed the most, but Zichen had arranged for everyone to leave. Unknowingly, he had given up a lot of benefits. What followed next was a discussion with Liz, but it was actually a negotiation, and Zichen would be forced to take the initiative. This was also a kind of sacrifice. Before Zichen could cultivate, Liz knocked on the door, and Zichen invited her in. Did something happen? Liz looked at Zichen and asked. Zichen said, "My friends have all left, and there are not many people available. So I want your people to enter my world and manage it on my behalf." Regardless of whether Liz had received this news in advance or not, she had a surprised look on her face. She said regretfully, "I just met them. I didn't expect them to leave so soon. As for manpower, you don't have to worry. The Graf family still has many trustworthy people." Zichen nodded and said, "I still have a manager here. Your people can discuss with her, but for other things, we won't be able to help much." The powerhouses this time had all left, and even the people who were in charge of dissecting resources were gone. However, Zichen did have a manager here, and that was Lina. Her realm was still low, so she did not leave for the time being. Without the demon ape and the others, Zichen's world was a completely low-level world, because there were very few people who were comparable to the realm of Celestial. The following discussion went a lot smoother. Zichen took the initiative to give up a part of the benefits, and Lina accepted it after a while, and the two of them finally reached an agreement. According to the Graf family's information, Liz already knew what happened in Zichen's world before she came. She even knew that those people were taken away by Lady's holy sage. This showed the relationship between Zichen and the Lord. At the same time, she also knew that Su Mengyao, whom she had met before, was taken away by a holy master. It was said that the holy master valued her very much. All these signs were enough to prove that Zichen was not an ordinary person. So Liz, who came with sincerity, would have a pleasant cooperation with Zichen. Liz even said that after gaining a certain amount of popularity in Zichen's world, the Jealous family would organize an auction there to gather some popularity. Of course, before that, Zichen's world had to have enough things to attract these people. There was no need for Liz to arrange the rest of the matters, as the Graf family had many professionals in this field. Most importantly, Zichen himself was a core disciple. This identity was very impressive in the sacred Thunder territory. Apart from this, the most important point was that Thunder Earth Saint Venerable treated Zichen extremely well. Normally, Thunder Earth Saint Venerable would not care about the matters of the Thunder clan. He was an independent individual. However, the Graf family saw an opportunity to befriend Thunder Earth Saint Venerable. Of course, they were not willing to miss it. After sending Liz away, Zichen continued to refine the resources. News regarding him also began to spread rapidly. After all, to fight above his level and almost kill Hui, who should have been a core disciple, was a display of strength in itself. Not to mention that it was a 1-star battle against a 2-star battle. The forces that did not care about Zichen before began to pay attention to Zichen. The news that Zichen's world was in the outer region also spread quickly. This made many forces have the idea of befriending Zichen. No matter what they secretly thought, it was necessary to show goodwill on the surface. Unfortunately, Zichen did not meet with anyone. There were people from the Graf family in his world who had full authority, which made many people feel that it was difficult. After careful investigation, they decided to take a step back and meet the person in charge, Lina, who was currently at a very low level. "Why me?" Xian Qingye stared at Liz in front of him and said coldly, "Do you know what I paid in order to get that spot?" I worked hard to kill demons and made various contributions to the Thunder territory to get the opportunity to go to the Tree of Lightning. Why should I give it to others? Liz glanced at the agitated Xian Qingye and said indifferently, "It's useless to argue with me about this. I'm just in charge of passing the message." Xian Qingye said angrily, "This is unfair. The sacred Thunder territory has always been known to be fair. Where is the fairness now?" Liz looked at Xian Qingye as if she was looking at an idiot. Yes, the sacred Thunder territory has always been fair, so the opportunity to go to the Tree of Lightning has always been occupied by the families with great contributions. Hearing the meaning behind Liz's words, Xian Qingye said angrily, "Why me? Wasn't my opportunity exchanged with contribution points?" Liz said, "Didn't I say that the contribution points will be returned to you?" Xian Qingye said angrily, "No, I want to delay the time. Give me the next opportunity." Liz shook her head. "I don't have the final say on this." Xian Qingye said angrily, "You've gone too far, you've gone too far. Do you think there's no one in my Xian family?" Liz said, "I don't know if there's anyone in your Xian family. I only know that this opportunity for Zichen to enter the Tree of Lightning was requested by the sage. If you have any objections, you can discuss with the sage. What is fair?" With that, Liz smiled. "But I don't think you dare to go, because if the sage knows the inside door, maybe your Xian family will lose the qualification forever." With that, Liz left. Fair? Not to mention the sacred Thunder territory. Even in the whole Saint Spirit world, there was no absolute fairness. Everything was based on resources and strength. What was fair? Fairness meant that everyone had a chance. But in the sacred Thunder territory, the opportunity to enter the Tree of Lightning was always for the core disciples. Even among the core disciples, there were some ranks and differences. This time, Sage Late D had spoken, and after careful consideration, the higher-ups had taken away Xian Qingye's opportunity. In Liz's view, this was actually a kind of relative fairness. Because the opportunity was given to him, it was a great injustice. When she thought of their dirty dealings in private, Liz's heart was full of disgust. Zichen was refining the few remaining resources. His realm was steadily increasing, and he had not encountered a bottleneck. As time passed, the aura around Zichen's body became more and more tyrannical. Buzz! At a certain moment, his strength reached a critical point, and then a new change occurred. This was a transformation. Zichen had officially advanced from a 1-star Holy Spirit to a 2-star Holy Spirit. Chapter 30, 399. The aura of a 2-star Saint Spirit was released, causing the spiritual energy in the room to vibrate continuously. Countless streaks of pure lightning energy appeared and were absorbed by Zichen's body. Zichen's entire body was glowing. Every pore on his body seemed to have opened up and was devouring the energy from the Thunder symbol room. At this moment, a steady stream of lightning energy surged into Zichen's body without any signs of exhaustion. The uniqueness of the Thunder symbol room was fully displayed at this moment. As long as Zichen could devour energy, this room could continue to provide lightning energy. Under the same roof, Lei Lan sensed the abnormality of this room. She was shocked when she opened her eyes and sensed it carefully. Zichen had broken through? How long had it been? At the same time, a strong sense of danger arose in her heart. This was because the 2-star Zichen's combat power was even stronger, and he might not need her. After staying in this room for so long, Lei Lan increasingly felt the value of the Thunder symbol, and was even more reluctant to part with it. In order to seize the time, she did not investigate Zichen's breakthrough and continued to cultivate quietly. Zichen's breakthrough lasted for a long time. During this time, a steady stream of energy flowed into his body and was absorbed by the lightning physique, abdomen's lightning fusion, and a part of it strengthened his soul. Lei Lan felt more and more pressured and wanted to break through as soon as possible. After the breakthrough was complete, Qin got off the bed and stretched his body. He did not expect to break through so quickly. It was inseparable from this room and the resources provided by the Thunder Clan. Now, Qin truly felt the benefits of being a disciple of a big faction. He did nothing when he came to the Thunder Clan and received resources to break through to the 2-star realm. When Qingyue returned to the family and informed them of this matter, the Xian family's patriarch was furious. The Xian family's patriarch was a 9-star saint spirit, an existence second only to the Saint Venerables. He was strong enough to create a big faction in the saint spirit realm. After knowing the cause and effect, the Xian family's patriarch was not intimidated by the Thunder Clan's Saint Venerable. He had stayed in the Thunder Clan for too long, so he was very clear about the various rules of the Thunder Clan. Sitting in an armchair, the Xian ancestor gently knocked on the table. After a moment of silence, he said, "The tree of the lightning ancestor is of great importance. In order to obtain the quota this time, we lost a lot of benefits. We can't afford to lose anything." Qingyue wanted to say something, but was interrupted by the patriarch. "Since the resources have been taken away, it's up to me to decide whether or not to take them back. All of them are cunning enough to not want to offend anyone." The Xian ancestor sneered. "If that's the case, then we'll use this chance to drag them all over and force them to stand on the same side as the Xian clan." "Ancestor, what do you want to do?" Qingyue asked. "It's simple. We won't accept it. Now, go to the core holy city and challenge that Qin. Try to make a big deal out of this." The Xian forefather smirked. "Let's see how they're going to wrap things up." The old steward of the Thunder Earth Saint Manor rarely left the manor. He was rarely seen in the holy city, but these days he had a rare moment of leisure and often wandered around the city. He'd served the Thunder Earth Saint for many years. Though he kept a low profile, he was very famous in the Thunderfield. It was said that his strength was unfathomable. He didn't even care about the average family head. "Steward Emo, long time no see." An old man walked over and greeted Steward Emo warmly. "Steward Liu, why are you here today?" Steward Emo smiled at the old man in front of him. "I'm here to take care of some matters. I didn't expect to see you here." "Why? Don't you need to stay by the sacred sovereign's side?" Steward Liu asked. He was a member of the Liu family. Since Steward Emo knew his name, he obviously had a high status. Steward Emo smiled. "The sacred sovereign went out, so I came out for a walk." "Oh, if you're not in a hurry to go back, then let's go have a drink?" Steward Liu said with a smile. "Sure." Steward Liu walked out of the tavern with a slightly red face. After bidding farewell to Steward Emo, he left the core holy city. This time he gained a lot. His relationship with Steward Emo improved. At the same time, he also found out what he wanted to know. The news quickly reached the Xian family's patriarch. "The sacred sovereign is not here and won't be back anytime soon?" A light flashed in the Xian family's patriarch's eyes. "Since you don't want to cause trouble, then leave it to us. No one can run away when the time comes." The Xian family's patriarch immediately summoned Qingyue, telling him to go to the core holy city in 2 days to ask for his resources. 2 days passed quickly. Qingyue arrived at the core holy city and went straight to the Thunder Room. He stopped in front of room 23. "Qin, come out." He triggered the restriction. After a while, Qin opened the door and saw an angry stranger standing outside. "You're looking for me?" Qin looked at him. "Thief, you stole my spot to enter the tree of the lightning ancestor." Qingyue directly stated his purpose. "Do you dare to accept my challenge like a normal member of the Thunder Clan? We'll decide who gets the spot based on combat strength." Qin frowned slightly when he sensed the other party's energy fluctuation. 3-star, Qingyue said. "If you're afraid, I can suppress my realm and fight you." Qin walked out of the room. "That's not necessary. But do you know about my battle with Hu Wei?" I'm not Hui. Don't compare me with him, Xian Qingye said unhappily. I want to tell you that a situation like Hui can only happen once. If you try to kill me in the name of a competition, then sorry, I'll kill you first. And I can guarantee that no one will be able to save you this time. Zichen looked at Xian Qingye and said, because I'm very vengeful. Unless you disappear from the Saint Spirit realm forever, I'll kill you even if you run to the ends of the earth. Hearing Zichen's words, Xian Qingye couldn't help but shudder, as if he was being targeted by a great monster. The battlefield was ready, and many people had come to watch the battle. Among them was Grace. After learning the whole story, she said, Zichen, the spot is yours. There's no need to compete with him. Zichen said, it's okay. I'll just take it as a warm-up exercise. The battlefield opened, and the two entered the temporary battlefield. Zichen looked at Xian Qingye and said, you don't have to suppress your realm. 3 star is just right. After saying that, a powerful aura was released from his body. He was a 2-star Holy Spirit. Amidst the exclamations, Zichen rushed toward Xian Qingye. Energy roared and the battle broke out. After a quarter of an hour, Xian Qingye fell at Zichen's feet and coughed up blood. Chapter 3400. Xian Qingye fell to the ground with a dispirited look on his face. He was no longer as arrogant as before. Before coming here, the ancestor had specifically instructed that as long as there was no killing intent, he could fight however he wanted. He had used all his strength and all the techniques he had learned from the Thunder Tree, but he still couldn't suppress Zichen. He only lasted 15 minutes in this battle. That's right, he persisted, because from the beginning he was suppressed by Zichen. The surroundings were quiet. Everyone stared at Zichen with complicated expressions. Some were shocked and some were confused. Xian Qingye was a core disciple and had gone through layers of screening. Even if he used some connections, he was still a 3-star saint. His combat strength, even if he couldn't look down on those of the same level, was still outstanding. But he couldn't defeat Zichen, a 2-star saint spirit. After 15 minutes of continuous fighting, Zichen had consumed a lot of energy, and his face was slightly pale. The 3-star Xian Qingye was much more difficult to fight than the 2-star Hui. He had used the power of the demon bone. The independent battlefield space disappeared, and Zichen landed on the ground. He looked at Grace and asked, has my quota been allocated? Grace nodded heavily, looking quite excited. The stronger Zichen was, the happier she would be as an ally. If you want to comprehend it, you can do it at any time. Zichen said, then let's do it now. He won this battle, but he also saw how extraordinary Xian Qingye was. Moreover, the Thunder Clan's battle technique used by Xian Qingye was somewhat different from his. Even the same Thunder Flash was somewhat different. The spot has been decided. Come with me. Zichen walked forward, and everyone looked at him. Zichen had fought 2 people who were at a higher cultivation level than him. This was enough to show how powerful Zichen was. In the entire Sacred Thunder region, such an existence was definitely among the top. Once this group of people grew up, their future achievements would definitely be limitless. In the crowd, Lei Lan watched Zichen leave, and her expression became complicated. Her sense of crisis was even stronger. As for the loser, Xian Qingye, no one paid attention to him anymore. All the plans of the Xian family's ancestor came to an end after Xian Qingye was defeated. Extraordinary indeed. Steward Emo smiled as he watched Zichen leave. Grace took Zichen to the place where special resources were distributed. As she said to Xian Qingye, she was just a messenger. As for the resources of the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor, she was not allowed to touch it. There were people in charge of it. Grace motioned for Zichen to go in by himself while she waited outside. Zichen walked into a room where a woman was sitting. She looked very young and was wearing a rarely seen Taoist robe. When Zichen came in, She was tidying up the materials with her head lowered. Zichen said, "Excuse me, my name is Zichen. I'm here to get a spot to enter the tree of the lightning ancestor." The woman raised her head and saw Zichen. Surprise flashed across her eyes. "Give me your core disciple token." The woman put down her work and looked at Zichen. Zichen took out the token and handed it to her. After verifying the token, the woman opened the drawer in front of her. Lightning flashed in the drawer as if a space had been opened. Then a leaf appeared in the woman's hand. The leaf had an irregular shape with clear veins and was emitting a dark green light. "This is the spot. Take it and you can enter the tree of the lightning ancestor. Otherwise," the woman's voice paused, "there is no other way. Go." Zichen took the green leaf, thanked her, and turned to leave. After Zichen left, the woman pondered. "Only 2 stars. Interesting." Grace, who was waiting outside, saw Zichen come out and asked curiously, "How was it?" Zichen took out the leaf in his hand. "Is this it?" Grace nodded with envy in her eyes. "Is this rare?" Zichen noticed the change in Grace's expression. "The leaf of the tree of the lightning ancestor, do you think it's rare?" Grace asked back. Zichen asked curiously, "The leaves of the tree of the lightning ancestor are plucked?" Grace's expression changed when she heard this. She looked around. "You want to die? You dare to say such a thing?" Zichen was puzzled. "What's wrong with that?" The tree of the lightning ancestor is the oldest ancestral tree of the lightning clan. It's even older than the current ancestor. Do you know where these leaves come from? They fall from the tree of the lightning ancestor. Each leaf represents a chance. Moreover, they only fall once every 100 years. The number varies. Hearing Grace's words, Zichen was even more puzzled. How many leaves fall each time? A few hundred. A few hundred? Only you can think of that. 20 leaves is a big harvest. Sometimes only a few leaves fall. Grace said seriously, "How big is the tree of the lightning ancestor that it only drops a few leaves?" Zichen was even more puzzled. "I haven't seen it before, so I can't give you an answer. Go see for yourself." "Really? You haven't seen it before?" Under normal circumstances, it's almost impossible for a 3-star Holy Spirit to get a spot. Even if they can get it, they won't be willing to use it. Why? Because the higher the level, the greater the harvest inside the tree of the lightning ancestor. Some people don't use it for themselves after getting it. Instead, they hand it over to their family and even use it as their family's heritage. Zichen was speechless. Grace said, "Actually, I also want to advise you not to waste this opportunity. Go in when you're stronger. If you want to learn the lightning clan's techniques, the tree of the holy lightning can satisfy you." Before coming here, Zichen had some understanding of the tree of the holy lightning. It was a low-grade lightning tree. Although it couldn't be compared to the tree of the lightning ancestor, it could still comprehend powerful lightning techniques. Zichen shook his head and said no need. "This is a rare opportunity. I want to go in and see how big the tree of the lightning ancestor is." Looking at Zichen's indifferent expression, Grace reminded him, "Don't have any other ideas. The leaves from the tree of the holy lightning are cleaned by someone. It's not your turn yet. Also, it's impossible to pick some leaves from the tree of the holy lightning. It's equivalent to pulling the hair of the most senior ancestor in the family. It's too audacious and will be severely punished." Zichen touched his nose and said, "Am I such an unreliable person?" Grace said again, "If you still want to rely on the lightning ancestor, I advise you to give up. The lightning ancestor does have great authority. But if the lightning clan wants to operate normally, they have their own rules. It's impossible for them to compromise every time." Zichen smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'm not that bad. Besides, I know it's very precious, but I want to go in and take a look." The tree of the lightning ancestor was known as one of the biggest secrets of the holy lightning domain. Now that he finally had the chance to see it, Zi-Chin didn't want to miss it. Besides, what's the use of keeping it? To use it as a heritage? Or to leave it for his descendants? It seemed that his fiancées had all left and he didn't have a chance to have descendants. Seeing that Zi-Chin had made up his mind, Grace could only bring him to the location of the tree of the lightning ancestor. The space in front is it. Only those who have thunder leave can enter. Others can't enter. Under Grace's signal, Zi-Chin took thunder leave and walked forward. A ripple appeared in front of him. When the ripple came into contact with his body, the thunder leave in Zi-Chin's hand shone. Chapter 3401. The light released by thunder leave enveloped Zi-Chin's body as he walked forward. Ripples surged as he walked into a space. The space wasn't very big, and there was an ancient tree inside. The ancient tree had lush branches and leaves, and its roots were intertwined like dragons, exuding an ancient aura. Thunder leave in Zi-Chin's hand dissipated in this space. Buzz! In an instant, lightning erupted from the ancient tree in front of him, as if countless lightning snakes were swimming around. A strong pressure fell from the ancient tree. Looking at this scene, Zi-Chin's face was full of shock. Yes, it was shock. It wasn't shock that he finally saw the most mysterious tree of lightning, but the countless leaves on the tree of lightning. Each leaf was a chance, so how many chances did he have now? The tree of lightning wasn't tall, but it was extremely thick, with lush branches and leaves that drooped down. Some places were within reach. Zi-Chin's expression changed. How could this be? There were so many thunder leave, but why were there so few chances in the Thunder Clan? In the dazzling lightning, Zi-Chin made another discovery, and his expression immediately changed. Are those fruits? Under the cover of thunder leave, Zi-Chin saw some fruits. They were strangely shaped and not uniform. Some were like bowls, some were like bottles, some were like swords, and some were like ancient lamps. The tree of lightning bears fruits? What would happen if he swallowed them? At this moment, Zi-Chin's heart was burning, and he was eager to try. This was because he could obtain the nearest fruit without expending too much effort. But after thinking about it, Zi-Chin didn't make a move in the end, because he suspected that this was a trap or a test to see if his mind was firm. Because the sacred thunder region had existed for a long time, but there weren't many opportunities to comprehend the tree of lightning. Even in existence, like Liz didn't get a chance. Moreover, Liz had warned him in advance not to have any ideas about Thunder Leave. Zi-Chin looked at Thunder Leave, who was just inches away from him. He was increasingly convinced that his guess was correct. He snorted as a cold smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Trying to use such a method to deceive me is simply too low level. After all, Zi-Chin had seen too many schemes along the way. This test was nothing at all. No matter how tempting it is, my heart will not be moved. At this time, the tree of the lightning ancestor trembled, and several pieces of thunder leave fell down, scattering in all directions. Zi-Chin's expression changed, but he remained unmoved. It seemed that this was still a test. It was merely a dozen leaves. He had already given up on the tree full of leaves, so why would he care about these? Looks like it's a test of perseverance and willpower. Zi-Chin thought to himself. He ignored the thunder leave and walked forward. Right at this moment, another ripple appeared before them, and another person walked in. It was a young boy who looked to be only 5 or 6 years old. His lips were red and his teeth were white. He looked like a delicate porcelain doll. He was obviously a boy, but he was unbelievably beautiful. As soon as he appeared, he saw the thunder leave on the ground. His eyes lit up and he was about to pick it up. Ahem! Zi-Chin coughed softly. The sudden sound startled the other party. The beautiful young boy immediately raised his head. After seeing Zi-Chin in front of him, his eyes immediately widened as if he had seen a ghost. Zi-Chin said, "What are you looking at?" The young boy retreated, and there was obvious surprise in his eyes. Zi-Chin immediately stepped forward. "You want to run?" At first, I thought you came here to comprehend. Now it seems that you're not here to comprehend. You're actually a thief. The child retreated to the roots of the tree of the lightning ancestor. Only then did the surprise in his eyes lessen. He began to size up Zichen, puzzled and surprised. Zichen was also looking at him. He found that the child was still fearless after being exposed by him. Zichen frowned slightly. Why would a child without any power in his body come to this place? Obviously, something was wrong. After thinking about it, Zichen decided to ignore him and comprehend first. So he sat down cross-legged. At this moment, the child squatted down and began to pick up the thunder leaf. I know this is still a test. Zichen suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the child with a cold gaze. You're so young, yet you don't learn good things. How dare you learn to steal from others? Don't think that I won't beat you just because you're a child. Leave now and avoid physical pain. The young boy in front of him spoke for the first time. His voice was young, but there was a sense of maturity in it. You dare to hit me? As he spoke, he put away the thunder leaf. Put down the thunder leaf. Zichen said in a deep voice, I won't. The young boy looked at Zichen with a mocking expression. What can you do to me? I'll beat you up. Zichen's body flashed, and he appeared next to the other party. Seeing Zichen disappear, the young boy widened his eyes again, as if he had seen something unbelievable. Zichen arrived next to the other party and kicked the other parties, but... Ouch! The young boy staggered forward a few steps. You're so young, yet you don't learn good things. Now, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your elders. I didn't even take the thunder leave here, so how can you take it? As Zichen spoke, he kicked the other parties but a few more times. Of course, he didn't use too much strength and didn't hurt the other party. Stop! Stop it for this old man. I'm your father's ancestor. The young boy screamed repeatedly. Zichen, who had originally planned to teach the other party a lesson, couldn't help but show anger on his face. He gradually increased the strength of his kicks. Improper conduct and disrespect for seniority. You deserve to be kicked. Zichen did not hold back at all as he stomped on Li Yundong's body. Stop, kid. I'm really your father's ancestor. The young boy shouted, but his voice was too young. I'm your father's ancestor. Zichen increased the strength of his kicks, causing the other party to spin under the tree of the lightning ancestor. What the hell? How did a brat like you get here? The little boy shouted, This is the territory of this ancestor. Who let you come here? Also, I'm not only your father's ancestor, but also your grandfather and your whole family's ancestor. Little brat, I'm your ancestor. Zichen was so angry that he kept increasing the strength of his kicks. This child's skin was rough and his but wasn't swollen yet. Grandson, I'm really your ancestor, I'm not lying. This is my territory. This is the tree of the lightning ancestor. I'm here to comprehend it. Zichen didn't lose out at all. I'm really your ancestor. My name is Yimai. If you don't believe me, you can ask around. Yimai was anxious. I'm your ancestor. My name is Zichen. If you don't believe me, ask around. I'm your whole family's ancestor. Of course. Zichen wouldn't listen to the other party's nonsense, nor would he let the other party take advantage of him. However, just as his voice fell, the tree of the lightning ancestor suddenly released an even more powerful thundermite. The leaves of the tree of the lightning ancestor rustled as the wind blew. Zichen felt a tyrannical aura fall on his body. As for the little boy from before, he screamed in horror and immediately disappeared. At the same time, in the core city, some powerful beings who were in seclusion all woke up from their seclusion and opened their eyes. They all turned their heads and looked in a certain direction. Chapter 3402. A tyrannical aura spread out. Only some powerhouses in the Holy Thunder region could feel it. What's going on? The commander, who was playing chess with the city lord, couldn't help but change his expression. The city lord carefully sensed it. Then his expression changed. It seems that the Thunder Ancestor has awakened. The commander's expression changed. Who disturbed the Thunder Ancestor? The city lord said, "It's time for the Thunder Leave to appear. Perhaps, Ancestor, you know something. Let's go and take a look." The next moment, the two disappeared. In the Holy Thunder Clan, there were many old ancestors. However, there were only a few recognized old ancestors in the Holy Thunder region. The Thunder Ancestor Tree was one of them. It was recognized as the Ancestor Tree and was older than everyone in the Thunder Clan. Thunder Saint was also considered one, but he never claimed to be the Thunder Ancestor. Lei Jinka, who brought Zichen back, was known as the strongest old ancestor of the Thunder Clan. Then there were the Bloodline and Spirit Ancestors. The Bloodline and Spirit Ancestors were very mysterious. No one knew their origins. They only knew that their status was not low. Among them, the Bloodline Ancestor was in charge of the Thunder Leave quota. When the city lord and the commander arrived at the Bloodline Ancestor's location, they heard the Bloodline Ancestor cursing. "This bastard dares to disrespect the old ancestor. I will punish him." The Bloodline Ancestor's voice was very young. It was the little boy who had been kicked by Zichen. Beside him stood several old men. When they heard the Bloodline Ancestor's experience, they didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These old men were in charge of the resource distribution of the core disciples. Their status was extremely high, but in front of the Bloodline Ancestor, they didn't even dare to straighten their backs. "Bloodline Ancestor, I felt something strange with the Ancestor Tree. What happened?" The city lord stepped forward and asked, his attitude very polite. Yi Mai jumped to the high platform nearby and looked at the city lord. A bastard woke up the Thunder Ancestor. The city lord was surprised. How did he wake up? That bastard was standing under the tree of the Lightning Ancestor. He took advantage of my unpreparedness to launch a sneak attack on me. Moreover, he shouted under the Thunder Ancestor tree and disturbed me. "See if I don't beat him up," Yi Mai said angrily. As one of the people with the highest status in the Holy Thunder region, when had he ever been so sullen? "That's not right." The city lord frowned slightly. The Lightning Ancestor's true body is not something that ordinary people can approach. Do you think I would lie? This time, it was that damned bastard who alarmed the Ancestor. Oh, right, I remember now. That damned bastard said his name was Zichen. Yi Mai said angrily, awakening the Lightning Ancestor is an unforgivable crime. Hearing Patriarch Ye's words, the group of elders exchanged glances, their faces filled with shock. Of course, they knew who Zichen was. After all, they were the ones who had discussed and allocated the spot. But why was Zichen, who should have been meditating, under the tree of the Lightning Ancestor? The city lord and the commander also exchanged glances. They also knew of Zichen, but they were also puzzled. How could Zichen directly reach the tree of the Lightning Ancestor? And he even beat up Patriarch Leaf? In that place, Patriarch Leaf should have the advantage. The several saint sovereigns of the Lightning Clan were also looking in the direction of the tree of the Lightning Ancestor. The Patriarch Lei Jinka, whom Zichen had met before, muttered to himself, "Was it awakened by him?" Zichen felt a strong pressure coming from the tree of the Lightning Ancestor. The pressure made him breathless, and his bones felt like they were about to shatter. The tree of the Lightning Ancestor seemed to have turned into a peerless monster, terrifying everyone. The surrounding space began to twist and distort. Zichen looked up at the tree of the Lightning Ancestor, his eyes filled with shock. Thunder leaf rustled down, and at a glance, there were more than 100 of them. Zichen swallowed his saliva. He wanted to take the opportunity to collect some, but he found that he couldn't move his body. Just when Zichen felt that his life would be affected by suffocation at any time, the terrible pressure finally disappeared. Zichen exhaled heavily. A piece of thunder leaf fell from his head, floating in front of him. He caught it and put it away. The tree of the lightning ancestor calmed down. "Who are you?" A spiritual wave was transmitted into Zichen's sea of consciousness. Zichen said. He wasn't surprised. Such an ancient existence would naturally have spiritual wisdom. "Why are you here?" The tree of the lightning ancestor asked again. "I'm here to comprehend the thunder skill," Zichen said. The branches trembled, but this time no thunder leaf fell. At this time, there were a lot of thunder leaf on the ground. Zichen scratched his head and asked, "I just don't know how to comprehend it. Patriarch, please tell me." "Close your eyes and sense it carefully." Zichen thanked it and closed his eyes. He no longer spoke and carefully sensed his surroundings. Thunder fell from above, enveloping Zichen's body. At this time, a pair of eyes appeared on the tree of the lightning ancestor, which was looking at Zichen below. As his mood gradually calmed down, the scene in front of Zichen began to change. He was standing in a void. There were countless balls of light rotating in the void, and the power of thunder flew out from time to time. Zichen looked at these lightning balls with confusion in his eyes. He was very puzzled. The lightning balls emitted strange fluctuations, and Zichen released his spiritual sense to perceive them. However, as soon as his spiritual sense extended, it was blocked by a strange force. Zichen tried several times in a row, but there was no effect. However, the moment he was blocked by the strange force, he felt something strange. Then his eyes widened in disbelief. "Are these lightning balls the ThunderClan skill that I want to comprehend?" Visually, there were so many lightning balls here that it was like an endless star field. With so many ThunderClan skills, which one should he comprehend? Zichen immediately released his spiritual sense and extended it into the distance. In a very distant place, he felt a familiar fluctuation. His spiritual sense extended to the place where the familiar fluctuation was. It was a bright lightning ball. From a distance, there was nothing unusual, but as his spiritual sense approached, he found that this light ball was much brighter than the others. Zichen's spiritual sense probed it and was not repelled during this time. Just as his spiritual sense probed the light ball, a ray of light fell from the tree of the lightning ancestor and directly entered Zichen's sea of consciousness. It was a ThunderClan's body refining technique, the sacred thunder body refining technique. The technique appeared in his sea of consciousness, accompanied by the method of power circulation. Zichen carefully perceived it, and a moment later, he was surprised to find that this technique was almost the same as the thunder body, or rather, the advanced and complete version of the thunder body. Because of the foundation of the thunder body, Zichen comprehended the sacred thunder body refining technique not long after. His consciousness left the light ball, and his spiritual sense continued to spread out. Then he found a second familiar light ball. As Zichen's spiritual sense probed, a second ray of light fell from the tree of the lightning ancestor. Chapter 3403. The tree of the lightning ancestor had existed for too long and had seen countless thunder tribe geniuses come here to comprehend. But the best-case scenario was to obtain a powerful thunder skill and leave. The worst-case scenario was to not obtain a single skill. It could not be said that there were no people in history who could obtain 2 thunder skills, but the number was extremely small. The second thunder skill that Zichen obtained was called the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder. This was the thunder flash that he comprehended, but it was a higher-level existence that required the power of the sacred spirit to use. It was similar to the 9 Flash of Holy Thunder in the past. The Thunder Flash was a recognized speed battle skill of the Thunder tribe. Many people had mastered it, but most of them came from the Tree of Holy Thunder, so it was obviously different from the 9 flash of holy thunder. The latter was more complete, and because it came from the tree of the lightning ancestor, it was even more extraordinary. Because of the 9 flash of holy thunder as a foundation, the 9 flash of holy thunder was not difficult for Zichen. It did not take long for him to understand it, but as for how long it would take to master it, it would depend on Zichen's comprehension. The tree of the lightning ancestor had been silently watching Zichen. At this moment, its exposed eyes were filled with a myriad of thoughts. It was as if it had returned to that scene in the past. A handsome and proud man stood under the tree of the lightning ancestor and said confidently, "In this life, I will definitely find that secret and reach an unparalleled realm. I will make the world look up to me and make gods and demons tremble." At that time, he was arrogant and unruly, but he also had the capital to be proud of his absolute confidence. He deserved to be powerful and looked down on all living beings. He did not have love, and he did not have a confidant. There were only 2 people by his side, and only those 2 people. One day, on the ground, those 2 people followed him on his left and right, trying their best to chase after his footsteps. It was very difficult for them to walk. The last scene was when his body exploded and lightning filled the sacred spirit realm. A vast power descended from the sky, annihilating all the scattered light of life and extinguishing all possibility of his resurrection. The tree of the lightning ancestor, who was filled with emotion, discovered that the 3rd bolt of lightning descended. It's the Thunderblade manipulation. The tree of the lightning ancestor was enlightened. It seems that you have mastered it long ago, and it can't be considered a true skill. I just don't know what you'll be able to comprehend this time. Thunder Body, Thunder Flash, and Thunderblade were all techniques that Zichen had mastered. Moreover, they came from the Life Star. Right now, he had a new understanding of these 3 techniques. Once he mastered them, his battle prowess would definitely rise to another level. However, up until now, Zichen had not comprehended a new thunder skill. Zichen's soul was still wandering around the lightning ball. There were many techniques here, but all of them were repelling him. After a series of fruitless attempts, Zichen's face showed dissatisfaction. He stood under the countless lightning balls, looked up at the sky, and shouted, "What is this? I'm here to comprehend the lightning skill. Can't you just give me a random one? Don't say that the previous 3 were given to me, because I already knew them. Now I need a new lightning skill, a powerful one." Zichen's voice reverberated in the air, echoing back and forth in the air. It would have been better if he hadn't said anything. As the echoes disappeared, the lightning balls disappeared one after another. "What are you doing? Hey, wait. Just give me anyone. I don't expect too much." Fist technique, palm technique, or finger technique are all good. Zichen shouted. "The sword control technique is also good." I said, "Just give me anyone." As his voice echoed, the lightning balls disappeared faster. Zichen was enraged, but he couldn't do anything about it. I don't believe it. He wasn't willing to give up. He released his spirit consciousness one more time, extending it to the outside world. He wanted to use his spirit consciousness to keep a lightning ball. "You don't want to give me any, do you? Then I'll force you to give me one." Zichen's spirit consciousness was said to be perfect. It didn't have any flaw. Buzz! His mind flickered, and his spirit consciousness turned into a big net, blocking more than 10 lightning balls. Those lightning balls started to hit the big net, and the strong energy shook unceasingly. During this time, 5 of them broke the big net and disappeared. However, the rest of them were tightly bound by the big net. Seeing this method work, Zichen immediately signaled his spirit consciousness to return. Swoosh! Swoosh! During this time, more lightning balls disappeared into thin air. "Lock them up!" Zichen was furious. The big net of spirit consciousness spread out, tied up the remaining 5 lightning balls individually, and then dragged them in this direction. At the same time, Zichen used Thunder Flash and approached the front. As he got closer and closer to those lightning balls, Zichen couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile on his face. This time he locked up 5 of them. Even if he didn't take all of them down, even if he took down 2 of them, it would be a big profit. However, before the smile on Zichen's face could fully spread, he saw that the 5 lightning balls that were tightly locked up disappeared into thin air. Zichen was stunned, and the anger on his face grew. When he raised his head, there wasn't even a single lightning ball in the entire space. This indicated that Zichen was no longer fated with the lightning skills here. What was this? A trip for nothing? Just as Zichen was extremely unwilling to give up, he saw a ray of light appear in the sky. As if a sharp blade had cut through space, light appeared. It was the light of endless lightning, and it was so dazzling that Zichen couldn't help but close his eyes. However, he forced himself to hold on and didn't close his eyes, because he wanted to see what exactly had appeared. Perhaps it was an opportunity. Zichen opened his eyes and looked at the sky. A ray of lightning fell and entered Zichen's eyes. In an instant, there was a roar of thunder, and Zichen felt a stinging pain in his eyes. The moment the lightning entered his eyes, a shining fruit under the tree of the lightning ancestor suddenly trembled a few times. It detached itself from the tree of the lightning ancestor and slowly fell down. The falling fruit gradually decomposed, turning into a ball of energy and entering Zichen's eyes. In the next moment, lightning flashed on Zichen's body. Countless bolts of lightning appeared in his body, shining with a brilliant golden light. That was the fusion of golden lightning, which was also Zichen's power of abdomen. A wisp of this power flew out, with countless rules lingering on it, and merged with the power of the fruit, and then entered Zichen's eyes. In an instant, Zichen's eyes were already flashing with lightning. Seeing this scene, the tree of lightning revealed a strange look in its eyes. This is an eye technique dominated by rules, but I don't know what kind of rules are dominant. Obviously, even the tree of lightning couldn't understand at this moment. This kind of eye technique was weak and strong, and it couldn't see through it before it was completely formed. This was the technique that Zichen had comprehended, the Eye of Rule. At this moment, Zichen opened his eyes. His eyes flickered with silver light, releasing the power of lightning. He saw the pair of eyes on the tree of lightning at a glance. Chapter 3404. Zichen's eyes were full of lightning as he looked at the tree of lightning. However, the tree of lightning didn't notice any abnormality from Zichen's eyes. It was as if this eye technique had no power at all. Zichen had once mastered an eye technique called the yin-yang eye. It was very strange. However, after yin and yang merged, this eye technique disappeared. He, who had similar experience, couldn't remain calm at this moment. What was the use of this eye technique that he had mastered? In his eyes, the lightning disappeared, leaving only doubts. Lightning ancestor, what did I comprehend? Zichen asked. It should be the Eye of Rule, said the lightning ancestor. Then what is it? What special effect does it have? Zichen asked again. I previously observed the power of thunder in your body. There are many rules fused, and I wanted to see which rule is dominant. If it's the rule of thunder, then it has the power of thunder. Otherwise, it's something else. Hearing the tree of lightning's words, Zichen tried again, but he didn't find any rule dominating. Go back and try again. Zichen smiled. He wasn't in a hurry. Today's harvest was not small, and he was already very satisfied. He sat directly on the ground, propped his hands behind his back, and looked up at the tree of lightning above. The calm gaze of the tree of lightning changed again, and there was obvious shock. Yes, it was shock. To make the oldest lightning ancestor reveal such an expression, it was obviously Zichen who did something. Why do you need to do this? The lightning ancestor spoke again. Zichen was puzzled. He was obviously pretending to be stupid. If you want to come in the future, just come. There's no need to do this, the lightning ancestor said, his mood fluctuating. Was the person in front of him really the same person? Zi-Chin, who was secretly collecting the thunder leaf, couldn't help blushing. Really, you can come at any time. You don't need these. Hey, why are you still collecting? The Tree of Lightning's voice changed. Zi-Chin said, I see that there are a lot of thunder leaf here. I don't want them to dry up and be wasted. This excuse made the Tree of Lightning not know whether to laugh or cry. There are more than 200 pieces here. Ancestor, you can't use them alone. Do you mind if I take some of them? Zi-Chin smiled, but his hands didn't stop. Since it was the old ancestor of the thunder leaf, he would definitely not kill him. Therefore, Zi-Chin decided to be thick-skinned this time. At most, he would be chased out. This way, he would have a lot of thunder leaf on him. Even if he couldn't use it, he could still exchange it for resources, right? Every leaf was an opportunity, and he had already secretly collected 10 of them. Sigh. The Tree of the Lightning ancestor let out a sigh. His emotions were extremely complicated. No matter how hard he tried, he could not connect this thick-skinned guy before him with the one who looked down on all living beings, disregarding everything else. Just their personalities alone were like heaven and earth. If you want it, I can give it all to you. But you don't need it here. So what's the use of it? The Tree of Lightning sighed and said, hearing that the other party wasn't angry, Zi-Chin immediately said, Elder, you're in charge of this place, so you don't pay attention to what's going on outside. You're not in charge of the household, so you don't know the cost of daily necessities. I still have a lot of friends around me, a big family. I just came to the Sacred Thunder region and am unfamiliar with the place. If I don't find a way to get some resources, how will I live in the future? You said you have a lot of friends? A big family? The Tree of Lightning ancestor's eyes revealed a look of surprise. That's right. Zi-Chin continued to pick up the thunder leaf and said, This time, if it weren't for the help of the Thunder Saint, I wouldn't have been able to come here at all. Even if the Thunder Saint asked for it, the thunder leaf I got attracted a lot of trouble. Before I came here, I had a fight with a 3-star. Although I won, he has a family behind him. I don't know how he will scheme against me in the future. The Tree of Lightning ancestor's eyes widened. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. There were more than 200 thunder leaf here. Zi-Chin took away about 30 pieces and didn't dare to take any more. He still understood the principle of stopping when it was appropriate. He looked up at the fruit on the Tree of Lightning ancestor and said pitifully, Elder, can this fruit make my realm advance by leaps and bounds? Why don't you give me one to taste? You really want it? The Tree of Lightning ancestor stared at Zi-Chin. Zi-Chin smiled awkwardly. I'm just joking. Please don't mind it. Thank you for your generosity. These thunder leaf are enough. Then, before Zi-Chin could finish his words, branches and leaves extended in front of him. There was a fruit in front of him. Try it if you want, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said. Zi-Chin subconsciously took a step back. He couldn't believe that such a good thing would fall on him. He was just joking. Try it. There are still many anyway, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said again. Zi-Chin shook his head. He didn't want to eat it no matter what. The Tree of Lightning ancestor said, If you refuse, then leave all the thunder leave behind. At this moment, if someone saw this scene, they would definitely go up and slap Zi-Chin to death and replace him. What a good opportunity this was. He actually refused again and again. After discovering that the Tree of Lightning ancestor was serious, Zi-Chin also carefully stepped forward and picked the fruit. When he touched the fruit, there seemed to be a strange power that entered his body. This feeling was vague, and Zi-Chin couldn't determine it. Eat it now. Watching Zi-Chin pick the fruit, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said again. Under the supervision of the Tree of Lightning ancestor, Zi-Chin gave up the idea of exchanging it for resources and had to take a bite. With one bite, the fruit scattered, turned into a force of thunder, and went straight to Zi Chen's eyes. The silver light in Zi Chen's eyes, which had returned to normal, began to change after the new fruit's energy entered them. Occasionally, a faint golden light would flash through them. The faint golden light wasn't rich, but it was clearly visible. At the same time, a new message appeared in Zi Chen's mind. Eye of destruction. The power of the fruit was exhausted. The light in Zi Chen's eyes dissipated, but the shock in his eyes didn't disappear for a long time. This was the eye of destruction that he cultivated. Although he didn't know the specific function, it was obviously a very strange eye technique. I see. At the same time, the Tree of Lightning ancestor also understood the function of Zi Chen's eye technique through the faint golden light. Old ancestor, do you know how to use it? Zi Chen immediately asked. Destruction, the Tree of Lightning ancestor replied. Before Zi Chen could ask, the Tree of Lightning ancestor said again, "Feel it yourself." Zi Chen was a little disappointed. The Tree of Lightning ancestor must know. Since it's our first meeting, I'll give you a small gift. Zi Chen's eyes lit up. He was looking forward to it. The gift given by the Tree of Lightning ancestor was definitely not something ordinary. Whoosh! Chapter 3405. Looking at the thing in the air, Zi Chen was slightly startled. Ancestor, what do you mean? At this moment, what was floating in the air was not the gift from the ancestor, but the stone saber that originally belonged to him. The stone saber came from the world of Lei Tianshi, and Zi Chen had been using it until now. It was very convenient, and the quality of the stone saber was also very high. There are some flaws. I'll help you fix it as a gift. As the Tree of Lightning spoke, the branches swayed, and a fruit that looked like a small flying knife fell from the branch. As the fruit fell, it dispersed on its own, turning into the power of thunder. Zi Chen felt an extremely strong saber intent from the power of thunder. The scattered power of the fruit merged into the stone saber. Some lines immediately appeared on the stone saber. These lines were activated and countless lightning saber intents emerged. Crack! Crack! Zi Chen heard the sound of the stone saber breaking. But it was not the saber itself that broke, but the skin cracked. The surface of the stone saber cracked, as if the old skin had fallen off, revealing the sharp blade inside. The blade was about the length of a finger, as thin as a cicada's wing. It was no longer simple and sharp. The sharp saber intent caused the air to distort. Looking at the changed stone saber, Zi Chen thought of what Lei Lan said in his mind. The Tree of Lightning could be used to refine weapons. Now he had seen it with his own eyes. It was really amazing to use the fruit of the Tree of Lightning to refine weapons without other things. Zi Chen's horizons were broadened today. The flying knife, which could no longer be called a stone saber, came to Zi Chen's side. The soul connection between the two still existed. But Zi Chen was surprised to find that the flying knife could no longer be enlarged and could be used as a normal weapon. Originally, it was used with the thunder blade controlling technique, but there are some flaws. I didn't expect to see this weapon again. The Tree of Lightning looked at the flying knife, and its voice became soft. Zi Chen's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "Ancestor, have you seen the stone saber before?" "Once," the Tree of Lightning said. Zi Chen said excitedly, "Ancestor, do you know about Lei Tianshi? This is what I got from his world." Lei Tianshi? A hint of doubt flashed in the eyes of the Tree of Lightning. "I've never heard of him. Who is he?" Zi Chen shook his head in disappointment and said, "He was my friend, but he disappeared. I asked Thunder Saint, but he also said that he didn't know him. However, Lei Tianshi knows the Lightning Clan's techniques, and he also knows about the sacred lightning region. The lightning body, 9 deaths of lightning, and lightning blade that I mastered were all obtained from him." The Tree of Lightning comforted him, There are too many members of the Lightning Clan. They can be found in every region of the Saint Spirit world. After so many years, it's inevitable that some people are not known. Oh, Chen nodded, unable to hide his disappointment. The Tree of Lightning continued. If you feel that you don't have enough power one day, you can come and find me. I will help you refine another demonic blade. Chen was a little surprised that the old master would know that he had a demonic saber with him. However, he wasn't too surprised. After all, the other party was the old Master Thunder. His means would naturally be through the heavens. He immediately said, I feel that I don't have enough power now. There was an obvious smile in the eyes of the Tree of Lightning. It's not a good thing to always rely on external forces. Only when you are strong yourself can you be truly strong. Chen nodded and said, what the old master said is true. Chen will remember it in his heart. Although it's true that you are strong, the prerequisite is that you have to protect your life, right? The prerequisite of being strong is to protect your life. It's not bad to have external objects to protect yourself. The Tree of Lightning actually agreed with Chen's words. Well said, but the demonic blade is unusual. It will be difficult to refine it in a short time. Take it out. Chen took out the demonic blade. Looking at the demonic blade that was 7 in 1, the Tree of Lightning had a nostalgic look in its eyes. The branches trembled slightly, and 3 more fruits fell. When the 3 fruits fell, they dispersed and turned into 3 balls of lightning power, flying toward Chen. One of them turned into a lightning bracelet and fell on Chen's right hand. The other 2 turned into rings. One covered the hilt of the demonic blade, and the other buckled on the scabbard of the spirit cultivation saber. Chen's left hand sank. At this moment, the demonic blade suddenly became heavy. As a 2-star sacred spirit, he could not hold it up. At the same time, there was a tingling pain in his right arm. It was as if someone was carving words on the bones of his hand with a knife. The pain was unbearable and extremely uncomfortable. Old Master, what do you mean? Chen asked, the corners of his eyes twitching. Refining weapons. The Tree of Lightning said, the demonic bone and the demonic blade are the weapons of the Devil Clan after all. They are not very compatible with the Thunder Clan, so they need to be refined so that they will no longer reject the power of lightning. I guess you don't have the patience to wait and don't want to leave these things with me. So I can only help you this way. On one hand, the pain was unbearable, and on the other hand, it was as heavy as a mountain. Chen wanted to cry. He immediately said, I'm willing. I don't need this demonic blade for the time being. That's it. It's also a kind of training for you. I'm sleepy. I'm going to sleep. This was an order to leave. Before Chen could say anything, a repulsive force fell on him. The next moment, he disappeared from this place. Just after Chen disappeared, another person appeared in this space. It was the recognized strongest old master of the Thunder Clan, Lejinka. Lejinka nodded at the Tree of Lightning. As soon as he appeared, you really woke up. The Tree of Lightning said, if it wasn't for him yelling, how could I have woken up? Lejinka asked, what do you think? His personality is not bad. I like it very much. The Tree of Lightning said, compared to before, this personality is more approachable. Lejinka nodded and said, indeed, I'm also very surprised. The personalities of these two are too different. How did you find him? The Tree of Lightning asked. He learned the lightning controlling technique. Lejinka said, no wonder. The Tree of Lightning suddenly understood. He hasn't awakened yet. Did something go wrong? It's not clear yet. Lejinka said, it should be a matter of time. The Tree of Lightning asked, who is that Lei Tianshi? He seems to have a great influence on him. Lejinka said, it's Lei Tianshi. That traitor, how is that possible? The Tree of Lightning was a little surprised. Where is he? He was killed by Lady in a rage. Will there be an accident? No, I saw it with my own eyes. In this saint spirit realm, no one can escape my perception, let alone fake death. Since that's the case, let's wait patiently. The tree of lightning closed its eyes. As long as it's still him, he will awaken the moment he returns. Lei Jinken nodded again, and then his figure disappeared. He didn't even look at the many thunder leave on the ground. He didn't even care about those fruits. At his level, there was nothing in the world that could make him care about it. Chan walked out of the space where the tree of lightning was. This time he really had a great harvest. Once he completely comprehended all the spells, his combat strength would definitely improve greatly. Just as he stood still, he saw a little boy standing in front of him. It was the one he had kicked away earlier. The other party was staring at him indifferently, as if he was going to denounce him. Chapter 3406. The core city lord and commander had come to inquire about the Tree of Lightning. Who would have thought that the vain ancestor would not let them leave? He said that he would definitely teach that stinking brat a great lesson. At the same time, he wanted the two of them to be witnesses. The two had no choice but to stay there with the elders who were distributing the resources, waiting for Zichen to appear. From time to time, the two looked at each other and smiled bitterly. What was this? During this time, the city lord said that he had something to do, but he was stopped by the bloodline ancestor. Those elders were in charge of the resource distribution of the core disciples, so they were indeed very busy, but at this moment they all stayed there obediently. It was just that no one knew how long it would take Zichen to come out and how long they had to wait. Fortunately, they didn't have to wait too long before Zichen finally appeared. The city lord and the commander finally breathed a sigh of relief. But before the bloodline ancestor could reprimand him, Zichen unexpectedly opened his mouth. Not only did he threaten the bloodline ancestor to be a thief, but he also asked if his butt hurt. The city lord and the commander looked at each other again and realized that something was wrong. Could it be that Zichen had kicked the bloodline ancestors, but inside? You brat! Why don't you hurry up? Then, before the bloodline ancestor could finish speaking, Zichen took the initiative to step forward, grabbed the bloodline ancestor's collar, and lifted him up. The bloodline ancestor was in the air, kicking randomly. The city lord and the others who were about to speak widened their eyes when they saw the scene, as if they were petrified. The bloodline ancestor was picked up by Zichen like a chicken. You little thing, you really deserve a beating. I've already warned you before, but you didn't listen. Are you looking for a beating? Zichen, who was speaking, grabbed the bloodline ancestor with his right hand and waved the scabbard with his left hand to hit the bloodline ancestors, but the bloodline ancestor shouted angrily, "What are you all waiting for? Hurry up and take this brat down." Zichen, who had already noticed the others earlier, smiled faintly and said, "I believe that you seniors were also tricked by this fellow. Although I don't know who he is to actually be able to find you seniors. I have to say that this child needs to be properly disciplined. Of all the things he could do, he actually went to steal the thunder leaf from the tree of the thunder ancestor." Looking at the stunned crowd, Zichen said righteously, "If I hadn't acted in a righteous manner, not fearing the power of this kid's family and ensuring the safety of the thunder leaf, the remaining 100 pieces of thunder leaf would have all been stolen by this kid. Let me ask you, how can you face the other core disciples? What did you say? More than 100 pieces of thunder leaf?" One of the old men blurted out, "Is it under the tree of thunder? Did you see it with your own eyes?" However, as soon as he finished speaking, the old man beside him tugged at his sleeve. The old man transmitted a voice transmission to him. "I say, you're really magnanimous. Is this the time to talk about this? Lu Jintuin, you bastard, you're still thinking about thunder leaf? Hurry up and take care of this stinking brat." The bloodline ancestor cursed. "Nonsense. You have no respect for your elders." With a bang, Zichen continued to exert force, and the scabbard hit the vain ancestor's buttocks again. Cough, cough. Seeing that the situation was not good, the city hurriedly coughed softly. Zichen turned his head and noticed the city lord, but he did not know him, so he turned to look at the commander and said, "Commander, why are you here?" "Yuan Shi, you bastard." The bloodline ancestor was furious. Yuan Shi was the commander's name. Yuan Shi was a little embarrassed and said, "This, Zichen, can you please put down the bloodline ancestor first?" "Bloodline ancestor?" Zichen said. "Is his name Bloodline Ancestor? So he's a descendant of the commander?" Yuan Shi's face immediately turned pale. He did not dare to casually agree. "He's my grandson. Grandson. Grandson." The Bloodline Ancestor shouted angrily. Yuan Shi's expression became even uglier. He thought to himself, "Why are you throwing a tantrum, ancestor? With your strength, why don't you just kick Zichen back? Why don't you use your strength and let him carry you instead? Are you a masochist?" "Young friend Zichen, please put down the bloodline ancestor first," the city lord hurriedly said. "The bloodline ancestor?" Zichen was stunned and looked at everyone. Everyone nodded repeatedly. Zichen pointed at the bloodline ancestor with the scabbard. "Him." Everyone nodded again, very nervous. Zichen suddenly found that the little guy, who was light before, was much heavier than the stone saber with the thunder ring. He slowly turned his head and looked at Yimai, who was spanked by him but did not dare to fight back. Yimai cupped his fists, raised his head slightly, and looked down at Zichen proudly. His squinting eyes put on a proud look. He seemed to be saying, "Now that you know my identity, why don't you hurry up and call me ancestor and apologize?" Zichen still couldn't believe it. He turned to look at Commander Yuan Shi. "Is he really your ancestor?" Yuan Shi emphasized in a deep voice, "He's our ancestor." "Zichen, don't be rude to him. The bloodline ancestor status in the Thunder Clan is supreme. Moreover, the bloodline ancestor is also responsible for the distribution of the Thunder Leaf. This time, he is going to pick up the Thunder Leaf." Zichen finally understood, but he still couldn't believe it. Such a little guy was the ancestor of countless powerhouses in the Thunder Clan. But under normal circumstances, wasn't the ancestor's combat power very strong? Why was he so weak? He didn't even fight back when he was beaten. Did he have masochistic tendencies? The bloodline ancestor, who was still being carried, said proudly, "You brat, why don't you put down your ancestor?" Zichen looked at the bloodline ancestor and then at the others. Without saying a word, he quickly put down the bloodline ancestor. "I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please calm down, ancestor." Zichen hurriedly apologized. The bloodline ancestor looked up proudly and said, "Brat, what do you think we should do next?" However, the proud bloodline ancestor did not get a response from Zichen. When he looked back at Zichen, he found that the other party had disappeared. "Where is he?" The bloodline ancestor was stunned and asked. The others didn't know how to answer and just pointed to the back. "He ran away. Are you all trash? Why didn't you catch him? Go and catch him for me." The bloodline ancestor was so angry that he stomped his feet. The city lord said, "That brat dared to be disrespectful to the ancestor. He should be punished severely, but he ran away too fast, and we couldn't stop him. Why don't you go there yourself, ancestor? After all, with the ancestor's strength, the brat can't make any big waves." The bloodline ancestor was so angry that he stomped his feet and shouted, "What's the use of trash like you?" However, it was obviously impossible for him to find Zichen, because Zichen had something on him that specifically restrained him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Zichen catch and beat him. After all, this was not under the Tree of Lightning. "Wait here. I'll go pick up the Thunder Leaf. I'll deal with him later." Surprisingly, Yimai didn't fly into a rage immediately. Instead, he chose to enter the Tree of Lightning to pick up the leaves. Although he looked very young, Yimai was a real ancestor. While he had a very high status in the Thunder Clan, he also had great wisdom. Chapter 3407. Zichen ran away. When he found out that Yi Mai was the real patriarch, he immediately fled this place. Fortunately, the others didn't make things difficult for him and were even eager for him to leave. Zichen ran all the way to the Thunder Room and then closed the door. The Thunder Clan had its own rules, and he believed that even if the other party was angry, they wouldn't force their way in. Then, Zichen felt very wronged. Countless powerhouses of the Holy Thunder Clan actually called a little guy as patriarch, and he didn't even have the slightest strength. What the hell was this? In fact, at this moment, Yimai felt even more wrong than Zichen, because the place where the lightning tree was located could only be reached by special people. Under normal circumstances, those who went to comprehend it were in a special space and couldn't see the real body of the lightning tree. Even if some people were lucky enough to see it, it was just an illusion and not the real body. It was simply unimaginable and illogical for Zichen to appear directly under the tree of the lightning ancestor. Lei Lan looked at Zichen, who was breathing heavily in the room, and asked in surprise, "Didn't you go to comprehend the thunder technique? Why are you here?" Zichen looked up and said, "I've finished comprehending it." Lei Lan was puzzled and asked, "It's over? That's fast. Don't tell me you didn't get anything." Zichen forced a smile. Lei Lan thought she had guessed it right and comforted him. "Don't be discouraged. Maybe you'll get something next time. But you came back too early. I'm sure you'll get something if you keep comprehending it." Zichen knew that Lei Lan misunderstood, so he said, "Let's not talk about this first. How many patriarchs are there in the Thunder Clan?" "A lot," Lei Lan said. "If you really want to count, it's impossible to count them. At the very least, each clan will have several patriarchs. Lei Di can also be considered as an patriarch because he has a long history." Zichen shook his head and said, "Is there a little boy? How can he be so tall to be called patriarch?" Lei Lan nodded and said, "You should be talking about Patriarch Yimai, right? Have you seen him before?" Zichen nodded. The Leaf Vein Ancestor is one of the oldest existences in the Thunder Clan. He is in charge of collecting the qualifications for the Tree of the Thunder Forefather, which is the Thunder Leaf. Looking at Zichen's unpleasant expression, Lei Lan said, "You didn't talk back to him, did you?" Zichen smiled bitterly. "Not only did he contradict me, I even beat him up." Lei Lan opened her mouth in shock. How is that possible? She obviously couldn't believe it. How strong is the forefather of the Yi lineage? Zichen asked again. Of course the ancestor's strength is incomparably powerful. Lei Lan looked at Zichen and asked, "So, did you get the wrong person?" Zichen said angrily, "That bastard deliberately set me up." Following that, Zichen explained how he had met the patriarch of the Yi lineage. Lei Lan was shocked to hear that. You can actually see the ancestral tree's main body? This was the source of Lei Lan's shock, but it also left Zichen speechless. They were talking about the Yi lineage, okay? Lei Lan continued. The tree of the Thunder Forefather is extraordinary. Ordinary disciples can't reach it at all. It is said that the forefather of the Yi lineage has some connection with the ancestral tree. Perhaps he didn't want to fight there, so you beat him up. However, the two of you had a conflict outside. It is reasonable to say that you shouldn't have the upper hand. Zichen said, "So he deliberately targeted me." Lei Lan said, "The forefather of the Yi lineage has a bad temper, and he is very concerned about his reputation. Why would he deliberately lose face and then settle the score later?" Lei Lan looked at Zichen up and down, but he didn't do anything. This is indeed a little unreasonable. Zichen said, "Since he didn't deliberately target me, let's not bother about him. I will continue to cultivate. By the way, you should not go out for the time being, in case that guy takes the opportunity to sneak in." Of course, Lei Lan agreed. She couldn't wait to stay in the room and not go out. Looking at Zichen, who was still holding the saber, Lei Lan smiled and said, "Don't worry. Since you are in the room, Even if the forefather of the Yi lineage finds trouble with you, he won't rush in. Besides, even if he does rush in, your saber won't be of much use. Zichen was not holding the saber to guard against the Yi lineage, but to temper his body. Just like the thunderbolt bracelet on his right wrist, Zichen, who was holding the scabbard, could feel a force entering his body through the scabbard and tempering his body. Perhaps the tree of the thunder forefather had used a trick, but Zichen could only feel the existence of the thunderbolt bracelet, but he couldn't see it. Lei Lan returned to her room, and Zichen closed his eyes and began to cultivate. His thunder body, extreme speed footwork, and thunderbolt saber all needed to be upgraded. It was a method to cooperate with the power of the Holy Spirit. Once fully mastered, his combat strength would increase a lot. While comprehending the techniques, Zichen was holding the demonic saber and tempering his body. After learning about the conflict between Zichen and the forefather of the Yi lineage, Lei Lan deliberately paid attention to the outside world. During this time, nothing out of the ordinary happened. There was not even a suspicious person loitering nearby. Everything was very quiet. This made Lei Lan wonder if Zichen had offended the forefather of the Yi lineage, or did he actually recognize the wrong person? The forefather of the Yi lineage was completely stunned when he saw the thunder leave. For tens of thousands of years, he had been in charge of the thunder leave, but he had never seen so many thunder leave drop at once. How could this be? Yi lineage stared at the tree of the thunder forefather in confusion. Could it be him? Yi lineage thought of Zichen, the guy who had awakened the tree of the thunder forefather and completely restrained him. While picking up the thunder leave, Yi lineage recalled the first time he saw Zichen. The other party had used the thunder flash that should not have appeared in this place that was isolated from all spells. He would become immortal when he came here. So why could the other party use the thunder flash? Moreover, when they met for the second time, the other party had the aura left by the tree of the thunder forefather. It was that aura that suppressed him so much that he could not resist. While he was thinking about all this, Yi lineage had also picked up all the thunder leave. There were suddenly more thunder leave here. Did it have something to do with Zichen? He was originally angry, but after gradually calming down while picking up the thunder leave, he silently dispelled the idea of getting even with Zichen. There was something strange about that kid. It was better not to complicate matters before thoroughly understanding him. When the forefather reappeared in the outside world, the group of elders was still here, while the city lord and the commander had already left. The remaining elders all looked at the forefather. The forefather said, "The results this time are not bad. We've obtained a total of 198 thunder leave." When the elders heard this, their eyes were filled with surprise and joy. The forefather waved his hand and said, "Don't spread this matter." The group of elders nodded to show that they understood. The forefather said again, "Investigate that Zichen for me and find out where he came from." The group of elders nodded again and then left with the forefather. Not long after, the information about Zichen was sent to the forefather. Chapter 3408. He has a good relationship with Lady. Where did this guy come from? Looking at the information, the vain ancestor seemed to be in a dilemma. He didn't know whether he should find trouble with Zichen or not. I'd better ask Lady. The vain ancestor made up his mind. He would never act rashly before knowing Zichen. He was the ancestor, but he was not the master of the Thunder clan. In Lady's mansion, the vain ancestor didn't see Lady, only the housekeeper. "Why are you free to come here today?" Seeing the arrival of the vain ancestor, the housekeeper was very surprised and invited him in. The vain ancestor said, "I'm looking for Lady." The housekeeper smiled and said, "Unfortunately, the saint hasn't come back yet." "When will he come back?" asked the vain ancestor. The housekeeper shook his head and said, "I'm not sure. Maybe a year, maybe 8 or 10 years, or maybe even longer." "What has he been doing for so long?" asked the vain ancestor curiously. "I'm not sure about that." The housekeeper shook his head and asked, "Why are you looking for the saint?" The vain ancestor said angrily, "A guy named Zichin was disrespectful to me. I checked that guy and heard that he has a good relationship with Lady, so I came to see him. That guy is really bad." The housekeeper laughed and said, "I'm afraid you misunderstood, vain ancestor." Yi Mai looked at the housekeeper in confusion. The housekeeper said, "Zi-Chen was indeed brought back by the saint, but it may be a misunderstanding to say that they have a good relationship." "Are you sure?" Yi Mai stared at the housekeeper. It seemed that this was obviously different from the news he heard. The housekeeper said, "Of course I'm sure. Before leaving, the saint specifically told me that if Zi-Chen does anything in the name of the saint, he must be punished." The housekeeper cupped his fists and said, "The saint is wise and his reputation can't be ruined. Let alone Zi-Chen. Even if Miss Leylon makes a mistake, she must be punished according to the rules of the Thunder Clan. In the Thunder Clan, rules are always rules." Yi Mai left. Although he didn't see Lady, he got the news he wanted and was very satisfied. "Zi-Chen, your hard days are coming. How dare you disrespect me? You'll regret it." After Yi Mai returned, the first thing he did was to inform everyone that Zi-Chen's quota to enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor would be completely cut off. As a registrar, Grace's position in the core city was not as high as that of the old people, but she could still learn some core news in a very short time. After learning of the order from above, Grace was very surprised. Could it be that the higher-ups were deliberately targeting Zi-Chen? Fortunately, they only cut off Zi-Chen's opportunity to enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor and did not deprive him of his core, disciple spot. Things had not reached the worst point yet. As for the opportunity to enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor, according to Grace's calculations, under normal circumstances, if Zi-Chen wanted to obtain the second spot, he would need to become a 5-star Holy Spirit. As for the time limit, it would take at least a few thousand years. For the time being, there was no need to pay too much attention to this matter. As for what would happen in these few thousand years, who could say for sure? This news did not affect her much. Of course, it would not affect the cooperation between the Jella family and Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen did not know what was happening in the outside world. Even if he knew, he would not care too much. He had plenty of spots to enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor, and now he did not need a spot to enter the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor. He was comprehending the 9 flashes of the Holy Thunder, which was a combination of extreme speed with the power of the Holy Spirit. Zi-Chen, who had encountered all kinds of dangers along the way, was very clear about the importance of speed. He could kill enemies at close range and escape from afar. It was the only way to save his life. It was naturally much easier to comprehend the 9 flashes of the Holy Thunder from the Thunder Flash that he had previously comprehended. Zi-Chen only used a few days to thoroughly understand the 9 flashes of the Holy Thunder. His current speed was already the fastest among his level. If he wanted to go further, he could only continue to break through. The second thing Zi-Chen comprehended was the Thunder Blade manipulation technique, which was also the Holy Thunder Blade manipulation technique. It was mainly used to attack and kill, which was very useful to Zi-Chen. This time, the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor had refined the stone saber for him, making it the exclusive Holy Spirit weapon of the Holy Thunder Blade manipulation technique. It was naturally extraordinary. The last was the Holy Thunder Body refining technique, which was a technique to strengthen the physical body. Just as Zi-Chen was patiently comprehending the Thunder technique, the news that he was being targeted inadvertently spread. In his world, some of the forces that had originally expressed their desire to cooperate with Jolina were no longer so enthusiastic. At the same time, the people of the Ganhai Sanctuary had also vaguely expressed some dissatisfaction with the location of Zi-Chen's world. This was because Zi-Chen's world was close to the Ganhai Sanctuary. Of course, not everyone was so short-sighted. There were still some forces that expressed their desire to cooperate with Lena. Lena didn't reject them. In fact, she didn't reject any of them. With the experience of managing hundreds of cities, she was very clear that this cooperation couldn't just be with the Graf family alone. If something unpleasant happened in the middle and caused the two sides to terminate the cooperation, it would be a devastating blow to Zichen's world. The people of the Graf family also knew about this. They were very clear about this, so they were even more attentive and didn't show any dissatisfaction. They didn't ask to get everything that could be cooperated with in this world. At the very least, they had to firmly occupy half of it. This way, they would have the right to speak in front of their allies. Outside Zichen's room, Grace's voice sounded. Zichen, who was in seclusion, woke up and opened his eyes. The scabbard was still in his hand. While the power of the tree of the lightning ancestor was tempering the demonic blade, it was also tempering his body. It had been nearly 2 months since the last time he came back. During this period, the bloodline ancestor didn't come to find trouble. Zichen gradually relaxed. Opening the door, he was surprised to see Grace. Grace said, "The Holy Thunder clan issued a mission that requires a core disciple to complete." Zichen turned sideways and motioned for the other to come in and talk. After taking a seat, Zichen poured a glass of water for Grace. "So that person is me?" Grace nodded. "Some people in the clan felt that you had obtained resources, but didn't participate in any assessment, so they arranged for you. It's considered an assessment." Zichen smiled slightly and said, "Defeating Hui and Xianqingya one after the other doesn't count." Grace spread out her hands and said, "I think it counts, but I said it doesn't count." Zichen said, "So you're just an errand boy." Grace smiled bitterly and said, "It's more than just an errand boy. Many people know about our cooperation and know how I got close to you. So this time I came to tell you this because they don't want to get too involved in this matter. Of course, even if something happens to you, it has nothing to do with them. The first person they look for is me." From Grace's words, Zichen understood her situation and said, "In that case, the mission this time is very troublesome?" Grace didn't answer immediately. Instead, she thought for a moment and said, "On the surface, it's not very dangerous for you, and there are even many benefits." Zichen nodded to show that he understood. After coming here and taking the resources given to him by the Holy Sage, he still offended 2 clans. And the 2 clans didn't stop there, causing him to participate in 2 battles. Fortunately, he won with a strong force. Otherwise, he didn't know what would have happened. If there was such a good thing, those clans couldn't even divide it, so how could it be his turn? Chapter 3409. A 2-star Holy Spirit named Insi stole a 3rd grade Holy Thunder heavenly crystal from the Holy Thunder outer region. During that time, he killed 2 1-star Holy Spirits and a number of Spirit Ascension Stage cultivators. He has now escaped and needs you to capture him. Grace quickly told him what had happened in detail. Zichen said in surprise, "In that case, there's a traitor in the Thunder clan." Grace nodded. "You can say that. Before I came, they had already told me that after the matter is done, you can refine the Holy Thunder heavenly crystal yourself. There's no need to hand it over. As for Insi, it doesn't matter if he's dead or alive. The Holy Spirit world is so big, how would I know where he went?" Zichen said, "Are you asking me to leave the Holy Thunder region? If that's the case, then it's not a bad thing." Grace took out a jade plate with an array engraved on it and said, "In the Holy Thunder region, most of the Holy Thunder heavenly crystals have their own markings. Through the markings, you can find their location." Grace handed the jade plate to Zichen. "As long as you inject your own thunder power into it, you will be able to activate the jade plate and find the location of the Holy Thunder heavenly crystal." Zichen stared at Grace, who said, "Don't look at me like that. This is not a test. The value of the Holy Thunder heavenly crystal itself is extremely high, the one that was lost earlier. Even if it was exchanged for a 1-star holy domain, it would be very easy. Perhaps it cannot be compared to a thunder leaf, but it is definitely much more valuable than the holy thunder demon bone that the holy sense wanted last time. Zichen took the jade plate and said, "Since it's so valuable, why don't you guard it strictly? That Insi has been lurking for a long time. Perhaps he knows that his potential has reached its limit, so he decided to take the risk." Grace warned, "You must be careful. If the other party dares to do this, they must have already prepared for the worst." "Why me?" Zichen asked. "There are many experts in the Thunder Clan. Can't you just send a 5 or 6-star one?" This time, Grace did not immediately answer Zichen. She looked at him with a strange expression. "What do you think a 5 or 6-star Holy Spirit is? A pet raised by your family? On call. Furthermore, what kind of remuneration would they have to pay to get them to act?" Zichen thought for a moment and said, "Has Lady Saint returned yet?" "Not yet." Grace shook her head and said, "Last time there was news that you lost the opportunity to enter the tree of the lightning ancestor." "What do you mean?" Zichen frowned. Grace said, "It means that you will never get the thunder leave again." "All right, I got it." Zichen replied faintly. It didn't matter if he wasn't given the thunder leave, as long as he wasn't deprived of his right to enter the tree of the lightning ancestor. After sending Grace away, when Zichen closed the door and turned around, he saw that Leylan was already sitting there. Obviously, she had heard the previous conversation. "I don't think it's that simple. You might have been targeted," Leylan said. "Doesn't matter." Zichen walked to Leylan's side, took out a piece of thunder leave, and handed it to her. "This is—" The moment she saw the thunder leave, a light flashed in Leylan's eyes, appearing to be in disbelief. Zichen said, "You don't have to ask me where I got it from. Furthermore, I didn't give it to you casually. Before I return, you have to take care of my world. Don't let anything big happen." Leylan took the thunder leave and asked curiously, "You should have only gotten one piece of thunder leave and used it. Why do you still have thunder leave with you?" Zichen didn't answer this question. Instead, he said, "Remember to take care of my world." After saying that, Zichen left. Leylan was the only person he could trust. If there was anyone in the sacred thunder region who was willing to help him, it would naturally be Leylan. After returning to his world, Zichen met with Jolina and chatted with her about the recent development of the world. After telling her to send a message to Leylan if anything happened, Zichen immediately left. On the jade plate, a dot of light appeared. That dot of light was getting further and further away. If he was any later, it would probably disappear. Zichen took out the core disciple token. In the sacred thunder region, he could do whatever he wanted. He began to teleport. One saint domain after another, he began to chase after the fleeing Insi. Zichen had the map of the sacred spirit world given to the core disciples by the Thunder Clan. There are many places marked on the map, and it was very complete. Looking at the direction of the dot of light and comparing it with the map, Zichen discovered that Insi was heading towards the Fearless Star region. The Fearless Star region was also called the Boundless Saint region. It meant that there were no rules. It was a very special region in the sacred spirit world. At the same time, it also meant that there was no fear. There were crooks mixed in with the honest folk. The status of a core disciple of the Thunder Clan would be greatly reduced. Insi's final destination was here. When he reached the entrance of the Saint region, he finally let out a sigh of relief. Here he was like a fish in the sea. Even if the pursuers of the sacred Thunder region came, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him, unless all the experts of the sacred Thunder region came out to destroy this place. This was his plan from the beginning. 2 Saint Spirit crystal coins. At the entrance of the Fearless Saint region, there was a teleportation gate. There was a person in charge here who charged a fee according to the level of the visitor. Insi was a 2-star Saint Spirit. The fee to enter was 2 Saint Spirit crystal coins. After taking out the 2 Saint Spirit crystal coins, Insi turned and left. At this moment, a cold voice rang out from behind. Insi! As the voice rang out, a young man with a sheathed saber appeared in the distance. Insi turned back and looked at the newcomer with a cold smile. He looked at Zi-chun, who was flying over, and stretched out his hand to slice his neck. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. In the next moment, his figure disappeared into the teleportation gate. Zi-chun was a step too late, but he saw Insi's appearance clearly and recognized his aura. Even if Insi lost the Holy Thunder Heavenly Crystal, he could still find him. Zi-chun appeared outside the teleportation gate. The Ascending Spirit Realm Guard said, 2 Saint Spirit Crystal Coins. Saint Spirit Crystal Coins were the highest common currency in the Saint Spirit Realm. 2 Saint Spirit Crystal Coins were just the entrance fee. It wasn't cheap. Zi-chun paid the 2 crystal coins and stepped into the teleportation gate. He appeared on a planet and released his powerful spiritual sense. Soon, he locked onto Insi's direction. At this moment, Insi had just stepped into a new teleportation gate. Zi-chun quickly followed. After 5 teleportations, he finally caught up with Insi. Or rather, Insi was deliberately waiting for him. It seems that the Thunder Clan has chosen to send you to your death this time. Chapter 3410. Zi-chun looked at Insi in front of him and released his spiritual sense again. This planet was not very big, and it was considered a dilapidated planet. Vaguely, it gave Zi-chun a strange feeling. Insi sneered and took a few steps back. Since it's you, I'll send you on your way. Light appeared around Zi-chun. It was a teleportation array that appeared out of thin air. When the light of the teleportation array faded, figures stood out. They were all sacred spirits. There were 1-star and 2-star sacred spirits. There were a total of 8 of them. Seeing this scene, Zi-chun's expression couldn't help but change. Insi smiled and said, Brat, even if you're a little slower, I'll still be waiting for you here. Feeling the killing intent around him, Zi-chun said in a deep voice, Who arranged for you to do this? Insi retreated. You'll know after you die. Light appeared under his feet, and then he disappeared into the light. He's a core disciple of the Thunder Clan. His combat strength is extremely strong. Everyone, don't be polite. Go all out. Light shone from the 8 sacred spirits, and then connected with each other. A domain-like halo appeared, and a powerful pressure appeared in the halo. Zi-chun's body seemed to have fallen into a quagmire, and was affected. Die. A cold voice sounded, and several attacks appeared. Zi-chun stood in place and shook his head. These people's realms weren't high, but they dared to attack the Thunder Clan's carefully selected core disciples. Their combat strength was obviously extraordinary. This kind of joint attack had a significant impact on the 9 flashes of holy lightning. In a battle here, it could suppress the core disciples' advantages. However, they didn't understand their opponents, and they didn't understand Zi-chun. So what if he was strong? Zi-chun took a step forward, and his body lit up. Countless lightning bolts formed a defense around his body. Zi-chun used the 9 flashes of holy lightning and began to dodge the attacks. He wasn't fast. Occasionally, attacks would brush past his body and be dissolved by the lightning energy protecting his body. During this time, a psychedelic light flew out from Zi-chun's side. It was a stone knife that had been refined by the Thunder Clan. Now, it should be called the Holy Spirit Flying Knife. The Holy Spirit Flying Dagger was as thin as a cicada's wing. It flew forward without being affected in the slightest. It directly reached the periphery. Puff! A voice rang out, and a faint mist of blood flew into the air. Puff! Puff! The illusory light flashed continuously at a speed that was difficult for ordinary people to see. Even spiritual thoughts could not capture it. This was the Holy Thunder sword manipulation technique, one of the ultimate techniques of the Holy Thunder Clan. This technique was created by the Tree of Lightning and originated from the art of controlling lightning. The attacks around him gradually disappeared. As Zichen continued to dodge, the protective lightning around his body dimmed and finally disappeared. The pressure around them suddenly disappeared. The 8 of them stood there motionless. The faint blood mist dispersed, and the Holy Spirit flying dagger returned to Zichen's side and disappeared. This was the first time Zichen fought against an enemy after he comprehended the Holy Thunder blade-controlling technique. Obviously, the result was extraordinary. Zichen stepped forward and groped the bodies of these people. He made some gains. At the same time, a light fell on the 8 people. Their bodies began to glow and finally crystallized. This was the Holy Spirit crystal, which could be exchanged for crystal coins or directly refined. It was a high-quality resource. After collecting the spoils, Zichen stood where Insi had left. There was no light under his feet. Zichen looked around and decided to leave first. Before he left, he opened a spatial ring and saw a small amount of Saint Spirit coins inside, as well as some resources that Zichen didn't care for. However, the last token caught his attention. There was a strange picture of a bird on the token. It seemed to be some kind of symbol. Zichen then opened the other spirit rings and found the same token, as well as the same picture of birds and beasts. Being in the void, Zichen felt a pressure. Although it was not as strong as before, it could still affect his speed. He raised his head and looked up into the sky. There was nothing but darkness there. However, Zichen felt a strong sense of danger in his heart. There was a light in his eyes. It was the eye of destruction. Above his head, which was originally empty, there was now a thick black fog, shrouding this huge star field. Zichen could not see what was in the thick fog. The feeling of danger in his heart became more and more intense, as if he was being stared at by some kind of peerless evil. As far as the eye could see, there was no one else in this star field traveling through the void. Not a single person. Thinking of the teleportation formations before coming here, Zichen decided to return quickly. As he retreated, a strong energy fluctuation came from the void, and the dangerous aura became stronger and stronger. Swish! Zichen increased his speed. Like a flash of lightning, he returned to his original planet. The pressure from the void disappeared. Zichen stayed here for a while, looking for a teleportation formation to leave. After a while, he found one and stepped into it, disappearing. This star field was obviously a bit strange. It cut off his connection with the world, just like when he met Thunder D-Saint last time. After 2 consecutive teleportations, Zichen finally came to a planet with many people. It was very lively. It was a trading city, and there was an endless stream of people. Looking at the crowd, Zichen used a Saint Spirit crystal coin to inquire about the meaning of the pattern on the token. It was the symbol of Julin. Julin was a big force here. The leader was called Julin. It was said that he was transformed from a bird and was extraordinary and powerful. After the other party pointed him in the direction of Julin, Zichen also saw the direction of Julin through the jade plate. It really did coincide with Julin. He frowned slightly. It was said that the leader Julin was a 5-star Saint Spirit, 1 level higher than the Meng territory's ancestor. Until now, he still didn't understand whether this was a scheme against him. After hesitating for a while, Zichen decided to go there and have a look. At least he had to explore the environment first. The mission was secondary. He had to get the 3rd grade Holy Thunder Heavenly Crystal. After several teleportations, Zichen came to the territory of Julin. This was a saint territory. There were dozens of planets nearby, all of which were part of Julin. These planets were all saint planets. It was obvious that Julin was very powerful. Zichen took out the jade plate and sensed the direction of the light spots on it. The teleportation formations here were all guarded. It cost money to teleport, but it was not as expensive as the entrance fee. Following the guidance of the light spots on the jade plate, after several teleportations, Zichun finally came to the planet where Julin was. He spread out his spiritual thoughts as fast as he could and searched for Julin's traces. His spiritual thoughts were very strong and directly covered the entire planet. Chapter 34:11. When Insi returned to his room, he was cursing angrily. Damn it! I worked so hard to get this thing. Why should I hand it over? Insi said angrily, if I refined it, wouldn't I be able to break through? That's a 3rd grade holy thunder crystal. Damn it, damn it. Just as Insi was about to explode in anger, a faint voice sounded. I have a question for you to answer. If the answer is true, you won't die. Insi turned around and saw the core disciple of the Thunder Clan, who was supposed to be dead, standing in front of him. His pupils shrank and he subconsciously retreated. Light flew out of Zichen's body and enveloped the surroundings, forming a restriction that isolated everything. He looked at Insi and said, Who ordered you to do this? Insi stared at Zichen, his expression constantly changing. There was obvious shock in his heart. The person who came was only a 2-star Holy Spirit. Even if he was a core disciple of the Thunder Clan, they were fully prepared and shouldn't be so weak. Who are you? He looked at Zichen and asked with obvious fear in his eyes. Although he wasn't weak, he didn't dare to say that he was a match for a core disciple. They were both 2-star Holy Spirits, but the difference in strength was obvious. Zichen said, Answer my question first. Insi took a deep breath, and the fear in his eyes slowly dissipated. It was unknown whether he was pretending to be calm or not. Do you know where this is? As long as I make the slightest movement, what awaits you is definitely death. Insi suddenly calmed down and said, So, tell me who you are. Maybe I'll be soft-hearted and let you go. Zichen frowned slightly. Insi continued, If you're willing to be my spy in the Thunder Clan, we can still work together. Before Zichen could answer, a powerful aura erupted from Insi's body. Countless bolts of lightning gushed out from his body like snakes of lightning. The ornaments placed in the room exploded in an instant. He was a member of the Thunder Clan and knew the power of the Thunder Clan. However, he chose to betray the Thunder Clan and steal the Holy Thunder Crystal. The restriction that Zichen had set up earlier began to distort. Whoa! Energy trembled as an inconspicuous ray of light pierced through the lightning snakes and headed straight for Insi. There was a soft puff. The surging lightning snakes dissipated, and so did the terrifying pressure. Zichen looked at Insi. Insi's eyes were wide open, and the light in his eyes was fading. Zichen walked forward and searched the other party's body. He found a spirit ring, but he did not see the Holy Thunder Heavenly Crystal. As expected, he's not here. Zichen collected the corpse and turned to leave. Suddenly, he raised his head and struck upward with his palm. The building exploded with a loud bang. A palm print descended from the sky, but it was blocked by Zichen. The powerful tremors caused the house to immediately explode. At the same time, the surrounding rooms were also affected. For a moment, cries of surprise rang out one after another. By the time he struck out with his palm, Zichen had already retreated to about 300 meters away. Stop right there, you little thief. It was only then that a furious roar was heard. A 2-star Holy Spirit was chasing after them. Zichen naturally did not care about a mere 2-star Saint Spirit. He turned and left. A ray of cold light came from afar, drawing a straight line in the air. Zichen felt a strong sense of danger. The Saint Spirit flying dagger appeared and flew into the distance. A clanging sound was heard. The Saint Spirit flying dagger turned back, and a shining saint weapon also flew back. The saint weapon was caught by a 3-star Saint Spirit. He stared at the fleeing Zichen and said coldly, There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you choose to step into it. As his voice fell, more powerful auras appeared in the surroundings. Sensing these auras, Zichen's face turned ugly. The number of saint spirits here far exceeded his expectations. Even their levels were extremely high. There were more than 10 saint spirits in the crowd, and 4 of them were 3-star saint spirits. Looking at the murderous saint spirits, Zichen had many doubts in his heart, but he could only suppress them. He was ready to kill his way out. After identifying a direction, Zichen did not stop. He was extremely fast. "Stop him!" A saint spirit roared, and then a series of powerful attacks appeared. Zichen's body flashed with lightning. He used the 9 flashes of holy thunder and easily dodged these attacks. Puff! At the same time, the saint spirit flying dagger appeared and attacked the enemies according to Zichen's instructions. He did not care about these people. If he fought with all his strength, he could naturally kill them all. The reason he fled was because he was worried that he would alert the experts here, such as the leader Julin. One had to know that Julin was a 5-star saint spirit. Zichen was no match for him. The saint spirit flying dagger attacked and killed 2 saint spirits. Zichen flew forward. At this moment, a powerful aura appeared from the side. Zichen's body froze. An attack followed and pierced through his body. It was the 3-star saint spirit from before. He came with a sword, but his attack missed. The 3-star saint spirit was stunned. Then he remembered that his opponent had used the lightning flash. He could not help but curse in his heart. At this moment, he noticed someone beside him from the corner of his eye. He was startled. A ray of light suddenly appeared. Zichen finally drew his sword. The sword light swept past the 3-star saint spirit's body. The 3-star saint spirit was split into 2. Zichen did not stop and continued to run forward. During this time, all kinds of attacks were easily neutralized by him. He did not go to the teleportation array. Instead, he went straight out of this world. At this moment, he only wanted to escape, because the feeling of danger was getting closer and closer. "You'd better stay here obediently." An icy cold voice suddenly sounded out from Zichen's side. Before Zichen could turn around, an attack landed on him. With a bang, Zichen's body flew backward and rolled on the ground. Whoosh! After landing on the ground, Zichen fled in another direction. A ray of lightning appeared in front of him. It was even faster than his speed. Seeing the figure that appeared in a flash, Zichen's pupils shrank. He quickly retreated. A ray of lightning brushed past his body. A member of the Thunder Clan. Zichen cried out in alarm as he retreated. A middle-aged man stood in front of him. Lightning flashed around his body. He was a member of the Thunder Clan. Previously, he had used the lightning flash. "Since you're already here, you'd better not leave." He used the lightning flash and approached Zichen. Buzz! The Holy Spirit flying knife appeared and rushed toward the opponent. "This method is useless against me." The opponent sneered. A ray of light appeared on his body. The runes on the ray of light shone and covered him. The Holy Spirit flying knife slowed down. However, the light shield also dimmed quickly. The confident Thunder Clan Saint Spirit's expression changed for the first time. Chapter 34:12 Holy Thunder 9 Flashes. This was the speed of the Holy Spirits in the Holy Thunder territory. It was much faster than the Thunder Flashes. Zichen arrived in front of the Thunder Clan Holy Spirit in a flash and unsheathed his demonic blade. The Holy Spirit Flying Dagger had underestimated the power of the Holy Spirit Flying Dagger, causing the protective light to become illusory. The blade light flashed and shattered the protective light. The body of the 3-star Holy Spirit from the Thunder Clan was split in half. The other Holy Spirits around were shocked. They mobilized their strongest power and retreated to a distance to attack. In the core of this world, a middle-aged man was standing indifferently. The middle-aged man looked ahead, where Zichun and the Holy Spirits were fighting. Beside him stood a man in a long robe. The two of them happened to see the scene of the 3-star Holy Spirit from the Thunder Clan being killed. The man's unchanging face revealed a bit of surprise. Ruaping might not be a core disciple of the Thunder Clan, but if they met, they would definitely have had the strength to fight. Just where did this fellow come from? How could he jump ranks and kill Ruaping? The middle-aged man said in a deep voice, "It seems that he is not an ordinary core disciple of the Thunder Clan." The man turned to the middle-aged man and said, "What do we do now? Do we just let him kill like this? It took us a lot of effort to cultivate this team. Let Shongan go." The middle-aged man's eyes flashed coldly. "Killing such an existence will definitely alarm the Thunder Clan. It is reasonable for us to suffer heavy losses. Remember to ask for a big favor." The man nodded and understood the middle-aged man's meaning. He quickly left. The surrounding people were on guard against Zichun. The Holy Spirit flying daggers, killing efficiency, was decreasing. Suddenly a hurried voice sounded. The Holy Spirits around all rushed back. It seemed that they were running away. Zichun did not chase after them. Instead, he flew out of this world. He sensed danger approaching. A bolt of lightning fell from the sky and appeared in front of him. A 4-star Holy Spirit of the Thunder Clan. Zichun's pupils shrank. He released the aura of a 2-star Holy Spirit without hesitation. The opponent was a 4-star Holy Spirit, 2 whole realms higher than him. Lightning flashed, erupting with dazzling light. As he circulated his energy with all his might, Zichun discovered that the halo on his wrist, which had a great suppressive effect on him, had disappeared. At the same time, the halos on the demonic saber and scabbard also disappeared. The pressure from the Tree of Lightning was no longer there. The aura surging from Zichun's body had become even more tyrannical. He was now able to contend with his opponent. Shongan frowned slightly. He did not expect this 2-star Holy Spirit from the Thunder Clan, whom he had never met before, to be able to withstand his aura suppression. "Die!" A cold light flashed in his eyes as he extended his hand and pressed toward the void. This was a battle skill from the Thunder Tree, Heaven's Thunder Palm. A huge lightning palm print appeared in the sky, carrying a terrifying aura as it headed straight for Zichun. The pressure from the sky suddenly increased, and the lightning that surged around Zichun was affected. He activated the Holy Thunder Body refining technique and stomped on the ground. With the help of the recoil, he soared into the air and headed straight for the vault of heaven. He punched out, and his fist, which was shrouded in the power of the Holy Spirit, landed on the palm print. With a loud boom, Zichun's body fell, and the palm print in the sky also shattered. Shongan's face turned cold when his attack was neutralized. At this moment, Zichun, who had landed on the ground, turned into a beam of Holy Spirit light and immediately changed direction. He came to Shongan's side at a speed comparable to teleportation. Buzz! The demonic saber was unsheathed, and the power of the Holy Spirit surrounded it. The surroundings suddenly lit up, and the entire planet became brighter. The saber light dissipated, and Shongan retreated hundreds of feet away. His originally cold face was now filled with shock. "It's the Holy Thunder Flash." He stared at Zichun, and his eyes were burning with passion. "You actually know the Holy Thunder Flash." The Holy Thunder Flash was actually the 9 flashes of Holy Thunder, and it was a top-level technique of the Holy Thunder Clan. There were 2 ways to obtain this technique. The first was to comprehend it from the Thunder Tree of the Thunder Clan, but the chances were very low. Only those with heaven-defying luck could obtain it. Moreover, the technique was only the Holy Thunder Flash. The second way was to comprehend it directly under the Thunder Tree. If one was lucky enough, they would obtain the complete 9 flashes of Holy Thunder. The 9 flashes represented the 9 stars of the Holy Spirit realm. Each star corresponded to one flash, and it was known as the fastest speed. With Chang'an's former status in the Thunder Clan, he could only come into contact with the Thunder Tree. As for the Thunder Tree, he had no chance to get close to it. The footwork he had mastered was the Thunder Flash, which was a little short of the Holy Thunder Flash and the 9 flashes of Holy Thunder. There was an additional wound on his chest, but he didn't care at all. His burning eyes stared at Ziqin. "Hand over the Holy Thunder Flash, and I can spare your life." Ziqin said indifferently, "Mine is not the Holy Thunder Flash, but the 9 flashes of Holy Thunder." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared as if he had turned into the light of the Holy Spirit and swept toward Chang'an. A long saber appeared in Chang'an's hand, and he slashed down. Swoosh! The saber light swept past the light of the Holy Spirit. The attack missed. Ziqin appeared behind Chang'an and unsheathed the demonic saber in his hand. Light flashed again. Chang'an turned around and blocked the saber in time. Explosions sounded continuously. Ziqin used the 9 flashes of Holy Thunder and fought with Chang'an. At this moment he was only a 2-star, but he was evenly matched with Chang'an, who was a 4-star. The Holy Spirits, who had already fled far away, were all extremely shocked. The middle-aged man who had been watching the scene from afar said indifferently, "This guy has some skills. It seems that we have underestimated him. This is good too. Maybe we can get a bigger favor from him. You should go too. Don't let him escape." The man next to him nodded and charged toward the battlefield. He was also a 4-star. Sensing the aura of another 4-star, Ziqin pushed Chang'an back with his saber and said coldly, "I'm not going to stay with you. Goodbye." Using the 9 flashes of Holy Thunder, Ziqin flew into the distance. At this moment, he was extremely close to the edge of the world. In the blink of an eye, he had left this world. The 2 4-star Holy Spirits chased after him. The other Holy Spirits, who had scattered earlier, came back one after another. Looking at the messy land, their faces were full of shock. Of course, there was also the joy of surviving a disaster. Ziqin came to the void again. That feeling of danger was still there. The deeper he went, the more uneasy he felt. Behind him, a powerful aura emerged. The 2 4-star Holy Spirits had caught up. Sensing the killing intent behind him, Ziqin sped up. His target was the next planet. After traveling for a few hundred miles, Ziqin suddenly felt danger above his head. He turned around abruptly and looked at the sky. He saw a giant hand of energy falling from the void. The giant hand was extremely fast and went straight for him. When the giant hand fell, the space around Ziqin seemed to have solidified. His body could not move at all. It was as if he had been frozen. Ziqin's expression changed drastically. Seeing that the giant hand was about to fall on him and the crisis of death was approaching, lightning suddenly appeared in his eyes. It was the Eye of Destruction. With the appearance of the Eye of Destruction, some abnormalities appeared in the originally sealed space. There was a small gap. Swoosh! Ziqin took the opportunity to escape. At the same time, he released his spiritual thoughts and found that the other 2 4-star Holy Spirits had also dodged the attack of the 2 palms. However, they were not as relaxed as him and were coughing up blood. The 2 of them were horrified. They no longer cared about Ziqin and turned to run. Killing intent flashed in Ziqin's eyes. A bolt of lightning disappeared beside him. The flying daggers of the Holy Spirits went straight for the 2 and pierced their bodies one after another. The injured 2 did not dare to stay in the void and fled to the original planet. Chapter 34:13. After being attacked by the unknown energy hand 3 times, Ziqin finally arrived at a new planet. However, as soon as he arrived, he was surrounded and attacked. Boom! Ziqin unleashed his full power and used all kinds of killing moves. After killing several Holy Spirits, he teleported and escaped. During this time, the two injured 4-star holy spirits were also there. Obviously, they were unwilling to let Zichen go and chased him all the way. After that, Zichen kept teleporting to various planets in this star field. He did not dare to enter the void again. It was too dangerous. Even 4-star holy spirits did not dare to step into it casually. After many teleportations and battles, Zichen finally shook off his enemies. This time the mission was completed. The culprit Insi had been killed. However, Zichen had not found the thing he wanted. He entered a shop and bought a bamboo hat that could hide his aura at a price that was beyond common sense. Then he wore the bamboo hat and started to return. Along the way, he saw the pursuers again and brushed past them. The bamboo hat was very effective at hiding his aura. After several teleportations, Zichen once again arrived at the planet from before. Although there had been a battle and many holy spirits had died, it was still very lively. After the news spread, many people came and wandered outside the battlefield. To them, even a little bit of Saint Spirit blood was extremely valuable. Zichen stayed there for 2 days and carefully observed the planet. The 3rd grade Holy Thunder Heavenly Crystal was in Julin's treasury. Zichen's purpose this time was to enter the treasury and take the Holy Thunder Heavenly Crystal. He needed a plan. As for how to break the seal, Zichen already had his own idea before he came. The Eye of Destruction was a thunder skill that he had comprehended when he went to the Tree of the Lightning Ancestor. He did not know how to use it before. However, when the dangerous energy hand appeared, the Eye of Destruction appeared on its own and helped Zichen resolve the danger. The next few crises were all resolved by Zichen deliberately controlling the Eye of Destruction. As the name suggested, it was destruction. Just like the rules that he had comprehended before, it could destroy all rules and order in the world. For example, the trajectory of the giant hand and the sealed space around it. However, it was the same for restrictions. Perhaps it was because too many people had died in the previous battle, but there were far fewer guards here. Other than the 4 Spirit Ascension tier cultivators patrolling the area, there was only 1 2-star Holy Spirit guarding the area. In the middle of the night, Zichen quietly made a move. First, he used the Holy Spirit flying daggers to kill the 2-star Holy Spirit hiding in the dark. A 2-star Saint Spirit died without a sound. It was very easy. Those 4 ascending spirit tier cultivators were still patrolling the area. They probably didn't even know that there were others guarding them in the dark. Immediately after, Zichen arrived outside the treasury. With his current strength, he could avoid the perception of the 4 people. Lightning flashed in his eyes as the Eye of Destruction appeared. The restriction, which was originally invisible, appeared clearly before his eyes and moved slowly in a track. Zichen's eyes glowed, and a real light entered the restriction. The restrictions that were originally operating suddenly paused for a moment. Zichen waved his hand in front of him, and a gap appeared in the barrier. He passed through the gap without a hitch. The 4 people behind him sensed something and turned to look at the door of the treasury. It was still as usual, and they couldn't see anything unusual. In fact, at this moment, the restriction had already started operating again, and there wouldn't be any abnormalities. After Zichen passed through the restriction, a door appeared in front of him. He pushed the door open and entered. What entered his eyes was the light of jewels and treasures, illuminating this place as if it was daytime. All kinds of good things were glittering in front of Zichen's eyes. Looking at these things, Zichen's eyes glowed. However, just as he was about to step forward, he suddenly saw a little girl bending down in front of him, looking for something. "Someone's here." Zichen's expression changed, and a long knife appeared in his hand. At this moment, the little girl turned around. When she saw Zichen, a look of surprise appeared on her face, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. Seeing the little girl's expression, Zichen thought quickly and asked in a low voice, "Who are you?" The little girl retreated. Zichen walked forward with an awe-inspiring aura. The little girl was like a frightened rabbit. She dropped the thing in her hand, turned around, and ran into the distance. After running for more than 100 feet, her figure disappeared like a ghost. She disappeared. Zi Chen's expression changed. He looked ahead and saw a talisman that the little girl had dropped earlier. It seemed that she had just found this talisman, but mistakenly thought that Zi Chen was Julin's man, so she was so scared that she dropped the thing and ran away. He walked forward and picked up the talisman. The talisman contained the powerful power of thunder, which belonged to the Thunder clan. There was an ancient word, escape, written on it. Zi Chen didn't understand what it meant, but he still put it away. He took out the jade plate, which showed that the light spot was here. Following the light, Zi Chen saw the 3rd grade Holy Thunder Heavenly Crystal. Now that he had gotten what he wanted, Zi Chen should leave. However, how could he leave alone after entering the treasury? Moreover, they might be scheming against Zi Chen this time. Therefore, Zi Chen began to collect the other things without hesitation. There were many colorful things here that he didn't recognize, but that didn't stop Zi Chen from taking them all. Suddenly, Zi Chen stopped what he was doing and looked behind him. There was nothing unusual there. Cold sweat dripped down. Zi Chen turned around and ran back. He rushed forward and slashed with his saber. A stream of saber light cut open the building in front of him. Zi Chen rushed out. Then his figure flew into the sky and went straight out of the world. Die. However, just as Zi Chen rushed out, a cold voice came from behind. A shining fist went straight for Zi Chen's back. Facing this attack, Zi Chen didn't dodge. With a bang, the fist hit Zi Chen's body. Accompanied by the crisp sound of bones breaking, Zi Chen turned into a stream of light and broke through the sky. In the sky, blood splattered. The bamboo hat that he was wearing to hide his aura was cut in half and fell to the ground. What a cunning boy! The middle-aged man with a 5-star Holy Spirit appeared in midair. He looked at Zi Chen, who had disappeared, and his face became extremely gloomy. The patrolling Spirit Ascension Realm cultivators below noticed the abnormality, and their expressions changed drastically. They immediately entered the treasury. Seeing everything in the treasury, they were dumbfounded. The next moment, someone exclaimed, "My lord, the treasury has been robbed!" Chapter 3414. It was a huge loss for the Julin forces to have their treasury stolen. The anger of the 5-star Holy Spirit filled the entire planet. Spread the news immediately. A core disciple of the Thunder Clan has appeared here. He has mastered the world's top techniques and weapons. A cold voice resounded in the world. Yes. When the news spread, the 5-star Holy Spirit descended and walked to a remote area. There was a solitary building there. The door opened and a young man walked out. Looking at the middle-aged man, the young man asked calmly, "What happened?" The 5-star Holy Spirit said, "A little thief came and turned this place upside down." The young man asked, "You want me to take action?" The 5-star Holy Spirit nodded. "Perhaps it's a trial for you." The young man's eyes flashed with excitement. "What's his cultivation level?" 2-star. The young man's excitement turned into anger. "Jukue, you tricked me?" The 5-star Holy Spirit, Jukue, said, "Although he's a 2-star, his status in the Thunder Clan is not low. Moreover, he has mastered the 9 flash of Holy Lightning." "Are you sure it's the 9 flash?" "Very sure." Jukue nodded. Also, he ran into the void. The expression in the young man's eyes changed again. He said coldly, "You are just a 2-star, yet you entered the void. Then why are you looking for me? The void here is not like the outside world. There is a holy venerate, spirit guarding it. Not just anyone can enter. What's the point of looking for me instead of the corpse?" "He's still alive." Jukue said, "Tan Xiao, I think this is an opportunity for you. You're already at the peak of 3-star. You're not far from 4-star. If I gave you the 3rd grade Holy Lightning Crystal, you would definitely be able to break through. But now it's been snatched away by that guy. You have to get it back yourself. Ju Kuwei patted Tan Xiu's shoulder and said, You've been stuck at 3-star for too long. If you succeed this time, you might be able to return to the Thunder Clan and get everything that belongs to you. Tan Xiu nodded. All right, I'll go kill him now. Zichen successfully escaped into the void and coughed up blood. If he hadn't obtained the sacred lightning body refinement art and tempered his body, he would have been killed by the 5-star Saint Spirit's attack. He had no choice but to come to the void. Fortunately, he was only injured and his life was not in danger. He swallowed a pill and began to heal his wounds. In Zichen's body, the remaining Holy Spirit energy was being forced out of his body little by little. He did not dare to stay here for too long. After suppressing his injuries, he fled into the distance. If he was the only one in the void, he would be very conspicuous. However, usually no one would come here. The 2 4-star Holy Spirits, who had almost died earlier, were the best examples. 1. The feeling of danger approached again. Zichen raised his head and looked at the sky. There was energy gathering there, forming a large hand that enveloped him. Zichen activated 9 flash of holy lightning as the terrifying pressure bore down on him. His figure moved, and the pressure around him became even stronger, as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas. Immediately after, lightning flashed in Zichen's eyes, and the Eye of Destruction appeared. Lightning flew out and landed around him, destroying the trajectory of the pressure. The next moment his figure disappeared. The palm missed and disappeared in midair. Zichen sped up and fled. As he fled, he healed his wounds. He did not dare to be careless, and he did not dare to enter another world at will. As his injuries gradually healed, Zichen sensed a powerful fluctuation in the distance. This fluctuation came from the void. He immediately released his spiritual thoughts and saw a person appear in the distance, flying toward him. That person's body flashed with lightning. He was using the Thunder Clan's Thunder Flash. Was it someone from the Thunder Clan? Looking at the approaching person, Zichen could not help but frown. How many people from the Thunder Clan were there in this place? The 2 sides looked at each other from afar. Tan Xiu's eyes flashed with killing intent. The void trembled, and the energy hand appeared again. Zichen and Tan Xiu chose different ways to dodge. Zichen borrowed the power of the Eye of Destruction, while Tan Xiu's body erupted with tens of thousands of lightning bolts. These lightning bolts exploded in an instant, forming a terrifying energy fluctuation. The descending energy hand shook slightly and then disappeared. Tan Xiu was 100 feet away. It was the first time Zichen saw someone who could resist the energy hand like this. His face revealed a look of surprise. At this moment, Tan Xiu released a murderous intent and locked onto him. Today I will kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, a long spear emitting the light of lightning tore through the air and charged straight at Zichen. Zichen stood in place, with countless lightning flashing around his body. The energy of the holy thunder body tempering technique was pushed to the limit by him. He punched out. This was Thunder Explosion. The spear stopped in front of him. The Thunder Explosion punch shattered it, and the terrifying energy drowned the spear. The next moment, this high-quality spear shattered. As soon as the spear shattered, Tan Xiu approached and slapped forward. Zichen punched out again, and it was still Thunder Explosion. A powerful fluctuation spread out, and the two retreated from the void. You do have some skills. Tan Xiu, who was retreating, looked at Zichen, who was on par with him. He couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. Zichen was also very surprised. As a 2-star, it was not difficult for him to kill a 3-star, but the previous Thunder Explosion punch was actually on par with him. Kill! Tan Xiu roared and rushed forward again. The light of lightning flashed, and the two were like two thunder meteorites, constantly colliding. The void was very quiet, and only the two's fight was very abrupt. In this confrontation they were evenly matched. Qin felt the strength of his opponent. He was definitely a strong opponent. He was even much stronger than Xianqingye. Xianqingye was a core disciple of the Holy Thunder region, and his opponent was so strong. What was his identity? The two who were fighting fiercely felt the danger at the same time and subconsciously dodged. In the sky, the second attack of the giant energy hand arrived. Qin still used the Eye of Destruction. After dodging this attack, he immediately retreated. At the same time, Tan Xiu had also dodged the giant energy hand. You really have mastered the 9 flash of Holy Thunder. Well, it's not a loss after killing you. Tan Xiu stared at Qin and said coldly. Qin held the demonic blade and said indifferently, "If you want to kill me, then come at me." Tan Xiu clenched his fist, and the power of lightning flowing around his body changed at this moment. You guys hide in a greenhouse and rely on your family elders to become core disciples. What qualifications do you have to occupy the Thunder Clan's resources? Tan Xiu took a step forward, and the void distorted. The power of lightning on his body turned into fist intent. I don't need the Thunder Clan's battle skills. I can still kill you with my self-created technique. He punched out. Countless fist intents came forward and then gathered in front of him, forming a lion's head. Beast King Thunder Fist. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.